Ladies and gentlemen, if you could find your seats, we're going to get started. We have 3 presentations tonight, but this is the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Board and the Housing Authority Board. This is December 5th, 2017, and this is our 5:30 presentation period. We do have 3 presentations tonight. I'm going to mix them up a little bit. Our first presentation is going to be given by our Fire Chief, Mark Brooks. It does say Division Chief Eddie Moore, but I'm assuming because of all the crazy activity that's going on in California, he might be gone right now. But with that said, Chief Brooks, you have a holiday fire safety tips presentation.
All right, thank you. This is some information from the National Fire Protection Association. The first part I wanted to talk about is winter holiday safety. One of the topics is holiday decorating. So be careful with holiday decorations. Choose decorations that are flame resistant or flame retardant. Keep lit candles away from decorations and other things that can burn. Some lights are only for indoor or outdoor use, but not both. Replace any string of lights with worn, broken cords or loose bulb connections. Read manufacturer's instructions for number of light strands to connect. Use clips, not nails, to hang lights so the cords do not get damaged, and don't overload your outlets. Keep decorations away from windows and doors. The second part of this is holiday entertaining. Test your smoke alarms and tell guests about your home fire safety escape plan. Keep children and pets away from lit candles. Keep matches and lighters up and in a locked cabinet. And when you're cooking on the stove, make sure you stay in the kitchen and don't leave the house when you have something in the oven. Now moving on to Christmas tree safety, which is a big one. Picking the right tree. Choose a tree with fresh green needles that do not fall off when they're touched. Before placing the tree in the stand, cut 2 inches from the base of the trunk. Make sure the tree is at least 3 feet away from any heat source like fireplaces, radiators, candles, heat vents, or lights. Make sure the tree is not blocking an exit. Add water to the tree daily. Lighting the tree. Use lights that are listed by a qualified testing laboratory. Some lights are only for indoor and outdoor use. Replace any string of lights with worn or broken cords. Read light manufacturer's instructions for number of light strands to connect. Never use lit candles to decorate the tree. Always turn off Christmas tree lights before leaving home or going to bed. And after Christmas, get rid of the tree. After Christmas, trees dry out and pose a large hazard for fire and should not be left in the home or garage or placed outside against the home. Do not burn your tree in your fireplace. Do not burn it in your backyard or in the desert. Check with your local community to find a recycling program. And then finally, bring your outdoor electrical lights inside after the holidays to prevent hazards and make them last longer. And then one other note I wanted to bring up was holiday travel. So travel prepared, not impaired. Use a designated driver to ensure guests make it home safely after a holiday party. Make sure every person in the vehicle is properly buckled up, no matter how long or short the distance being traveled. And be prepared for heavy traffic out there. That's all I've got. You guys have a safe holiday and Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Great tips for the holiday season. This is our last meeting before the holidays, so we hope you take those all very seriously. And if you have any questions, our fire department's not far away to ask those personally. Our next presentation, I'm going to have the council join me down front. It's for a special recognition of a community volunteer. So we've been trying to make this a secret. There's a member of our community that does a lot for our community, and especially for one park in our community. Eddie Johnson, would you join us up here? He's trying to hold back his smile. He's got a huge smile. Stand right here. So Eddie is a Vietnam vet that was injured, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But he's taken his experience and gone out to the schools, high schools, multiple schools throughout the Coachella Valley, and presented what it was like to be there and what he's had to endure since he's been there. And he's gone out and done this in multiple different settings, not just schools, but recently over the weekend, you did this at the Palm Desert Mall? Yeah. Palm Desert Mall. And he has I call it his crew. He has 4 or 5 of them that go out with him, and they set these tables up, and they really give a nice display and talk about what it was like being in the Vietnam War. Eddie is a Purple Heart recipient for being injured in the Vietnam War. But not only that, he takes pride in being a veteran of the Vietnam War, and he comes back to our community, and he goes to our park, and he cleans it up. And he makes suggestions, sometimes daily at City Hall. But he wants the park to look nice. And he's not only done that, he's gone out and he's bought flags to make sure they're hung, to make sure they're presentable, and he makes sure that we're held accountable to make sure our veterans in our community are treated accordingly. So with that said, we have a proclamation for Eddie. Whereas Edward Johnson has lived in Desert Hot Springs since 1992, is a Vietnam veteran who served in the United States Army from 1967 to 1971, and was awarded the Purple Heart after sustaining war injuries. Whereas his big smile lights up the room, and he has a heart of gold. And whereas Edward Johnson has dedicated himself to finding ways to give back to his military brothers and sisters, goes above and beyond for his community, and spends countless hours volunteering his time to care for and maintain the Veterans Park in City of Desert Hot Springs. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Scott Mattis, on behalf of the City of Desert Hot Springs City Council, do hereby proclaim on December 5th, 2017, Edward Johnson official. Now, he's been asking for this title for a while. Official caretaker of Veterans Park. Now, just doesn't. Now, it just doesn't come with a title. We have to actually put him to work. So to do that, in the City of Desert Hot Springs, because our residents are always asking, what are you doing? He's going to have a nice jacket that Mr. Betts is going to present him.
I think we have an official jacket here with an official logo. This has an official logo for the city that designates you as a Veterans Park caretaker. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and as far as the rest, the mayor did a wonderful job expressing our sentiments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Eddie, thank you.
Appreciate it.
You also have a hat for
And
him?
I also have a hat. So, and that says, it has the city seal and logo on it also. So, thank you very much.
Danielle has something for you also.
Yes, we have another hat with pins on it, and I think this is a bracelet or it might be a tool. I'm not exactly sure.
A tool?
I don't know, but I think it opens and I don't know, something.
What's this supposed to do for me?
I don't know, if anything, you can wear it as an
Now, these
accessory.
kids do have clips on them, because last time I tried this, I got a Purple Heart in my head.
And
Stick.
our last act from Mayor Pro Tem Yvonne Parks is she'll be leaving as Mayor Pro Tem tonight, but her last act as Mayor Pro Tem, she has.
A backpack or a carry-all. And it also has the logo and Veterans Park Caretaker.
Thank you.
This is so he can keep all his tools in there to make sure the park looks good.
And my sea rations.
And Councilmember Joe McKee.
2 shirts, one for summer, one for winter.
We have a winner out here? Thank you.
And finally, One of your special friends out there went out to the Assemblyman's office today, and they regret that they could not send anybody out as they had multiple events and a couple of people out of the office today. But they wanted to recognize you for Veterans Appreciation Day and what you've done for veterans in this community.
Awesome. Amen. Wow.
I get choked up at things like this because I just do my thing. I love the veterans, I love the city, and I love that park up there. And we're gonna make that improve better and better each day. The city backs me up, but I appreciate all the residents too. This is awesome. Thank you very much.
Let's get a picture. Go stand in a minute. Okay, are you over me?
Yeah, I think so.
Be a little close to you guys. All right, okay. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, and 3. And then anyone else needs to take a picture. Take the in the back.
Everybody's eyes are looking at one camera.
I can't help but look at her.
1, 2, 3. I got it.
Go ahead and stay here.
Eddie?
All right, our final presentation tonight is the recognition of Dr. Brian McDaniel, California State Teacher of the Year, and Michelle Barano. Yes. Been practicing this for 5 minutes because no one else knew how to say it. Riverside County Teacher of the Year. So I'd like to invite our representative, John Girardi, from the school board up here, and I'd like to invite the superintendent, Sandra Lyons, up here also to join me. Also, the educators, the principals from each of the schools, and then obviously our 2 recipients. Whichever side, I open both of them for you, so. I think the city of Desert Hot Springs was excited when we heard that we had a couple of candidates for Teacher of the Year here in Desert Hot Springs. I don't think anybody knew at one point that we would actually end up having 2 awarded Teacher of the Year. And just some of the numbers, 2 of the 4 winners, only 4 winners in Riverside County. And according to the numbers, there's just approximately 20,000 teachers in Riverside County. So 4 gets the award. Now, obviously, they go through nomination periods and everything, but 2 right out of Desert Hot Springs. Dr. Brian McDaniel taught at the high school, and now he teaches at Painted Hills Middle School. He teaches choir and band there. And then Michelle Barano teaches math out of Desert Hot Springs High School. And they can talk a little bit about if they'd like to, about what they're doing for our students. But some of the stuff that you read online is just incredible about how they're teaching our students today. And it's just for the public to know in Desert Hot Springs to have these 2 wonderful people. We wanted to recognize them. Not only were they Riverside County Teachers of the Year, they were both given the opportunity to become candidates for State Teacher of the Year. I would have loved to have both of you. But Michelle became a semifinalist. Is that 25? Was it down? 19. Down to 19 of the individuals in state of California. Now, to put that in perspective, according to the numbers that were given out, there's approximately 300,000 teachers in the state of California. So 5 were awarded. Out of the 19, 5 were awarded Teachers of the Year in the state of California, and Dr. Brian McDaniel was one of them. And even taking a step further, he was nominated from that point to run for National Teacher of the Year, which we'll find out in February-ish? Anytime. So we're waiting, and we're just thrilled to have both of you here tonight. And we wanted to give you this from the City Council. We'll start with Michelle. Michelle, the mayor and the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs hereby honors Michelle Barano, 2018 California Teacher of the Year semifinalist. The City of Desert Hot Springs would like to extend our sincere congratulations to you for your dedication to education to the students of Desert Hot Springs. And would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you. Hi. So I just wanted to take a moment and say that working in Desert Hot Springs has been an absolute privilege, and I look forward to continuing it for many years. When my husband and I moved out here, he was working at Palm Springs High School, and I actually researched all the schools, and Desert Hot Springs was my #1 choice. And I was really blessed to be selected there immediately, and I haven't regretted that decision a moment since then. Being able to work with the students at the high school and the teachers and staff, my principal, Mr. Bullis, and my vice principal, Mr. Grind, visiting today, but just and with this community. It's truly a privilege, and I really appreciate everything that everybody here does on behalf of the school and the students to support the work that we do there. So I just want to say thank you for this recognition, and thank you for the opportunity.
Then we'd like to recognize Dr. Brian McDaniel. I've known Dr. McDaniel since he came here. Before he was a doctor, he was a mister. But he came here, my first son went through his band program, and now my stepdaughter is going through his choir program. And so we've become friends over the years, and he's just a fantastic individual that's really given back to his community, and we couldn't be more thrilled to make this announcement. We even had a Dr. McDaniel Day, and he didn't pay me anything for it. He deserved it here in the community, but no, he really does. And to top it off, he's going to be our Grand Marshal for the parade on Saturday. So, now, Dr. Brian McDaniel, the 2018 California Teacher of the Year, the City of Desert Hot Springs would like to extend our sincere congratulations to you for your dedication to education and to the students of Painted Hills Middle School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Beautiful. Hand this off to you, John? Sure. All right, thank you. I don't know what to say. I moved to Desert Hot Springs in 2000 and 1986. I was 3 years old, so I'm a longtime resident. I know a lot of you from before I was a teacher. I mean, just going to Gibson's Market and going to 8th Street Park and swimming in the pool. And I had in my mind, kind of like with Scott, that I wanted to make Desert Hot Springs the greatest city in the world. And it's a lot to say it, but it's more when you put your feet and hands to it. And I came up with this idea. I'm going to do it not by asking my neighbors and my friends, but by teaching the children that this is the greatest city in the world. And they've been able to do so. When I was at the high school, we won crazy awards that we weren't supposed to win, state championships and national championships. And then to make things even better, we're on a 2-time national championship with the middle school. It's El Posada and her sister right next to her. They are the president and vice president of our organization, and they're very supportive. Right now, the amount of students we have 240 students in the regiment right now, and we're getting ready to do even greater things. This award is yours. All the love that you guys have given to me, former mayor, or I still call you Mayor Parks, she actually gave me a scholarship to go to college. And so this is definitely a homecoming. It was the women's club, but I believe you handed me the check, so. And so. She did. She hooded me when I received my master's degree from Cal State San Bernardino. Desert Hot Springs is my life. And I hope one day, when I return back up to heaven, that I'm remembered and my students remembered that we did everything we could to make this city the best city in the world. Thank you.
John, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, they've heard me before. As Mayor Mattis said, this is a very honored honor that these people have gotten. And I could tell you guys, in the school district for Palm Springs, we have a lot of great educators. We're very fortunate, but these two are special. They have created really unique, safe learning environments, and they've got the magic to truly engage their students. And you just can't buy that. I mean, it's just an internal gift that they have. So on behalf of the board, on behalf of all the employees in Palm Springs Unified, congratulations. This is a well-deserved honor.
Superintendent, would you like to say a few words? I got plenty of time. Principals, would you like to say anything for your? Good, okay. It's all been said. We're going to take a few photos right now. We'll get Michelle first with the city council, then we'll get Dr. McDaniel, and get your principals in there if you like, and the board members, however you like it. With that, we are recessed till 6 o'clock. We'll be taking pictures up here for a few minutes, if you can just stay back. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can find your seats, we're going to get started. All right, with that said, we will call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the Redevelopment Agencies Board and the Housing Authority Board for December 5th, 2017. This is our 6 p.m. regular meeting. Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do roll call, we're going to do the selection of Mayor Pro Tem. As mayor, I don't have a lot of power, but I do have a couple of jobs each year, and one of them is to select a new mayor pro tem and then have the city council ratify it. I try to stay fair and go through the order, and this year, my nomination for mayor pro tem is Councilmember Annie Ellie Zavala. If the council would like to ratify that, you have one fan out there.
Are you looking for a motion, Mr. Mayor?
I have a motion over here.
I'll
Would you
be
like a
happy to
second?
Second.
Push your button. Next button. I wanted to say a few words real quick. I wanted to thank Mayor Pro Tem Yvonne Parks, who I served under for 6 years when she was mayor, and she stepped into this role. She one of her many talents is that she speaks well in public, and she likes to be in front of the public. So and when I asked her to go, she's like, I'm there. And so I wanted to thank you for that. She did run one meeting for me and took a couple items here this year, but I wanted to thank you for your time and spending with the City Council as Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. All right, any other comments? Please vote.
Me?
No.
You want comments from me? Oh, vote.
Yeah.
No,
No,
he doesn't want to come in.
we've heard plenty of comments from you. No, I'm joking. Mr. City Clerk,
Motion passes unanimously.
unanimously, the plaque has been ordered, so it'll be changed up next meeting. I'm keeping the council on their toes whether we're going to change seats or not, but in January we'll find out.
Oh, not tonight?
Not tonight. Tonight you get to stay in that seat. With that said, we'll move on to roll call.
Councilmember Betts,
Present?
Councilmember McKee,
Present.
Councilmember Parks,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Zavala,
Present.
and Mayor Mattis.
Present. Tonight's invocation is we're going to stand and take a moment of silence. If you did not know, Darrell Bush, who was the longest serving mayor in Paris, California, died early Sunday morning with his wife and his son by his side. The reason I wanted to recognize this is that Darrell Bush served on the Riverside County Transportation Commission with me, and he was the chairperson before I was vice chair, so he kind of mentored me into that seat. If you don't know what Riverside County Transportation is, when the money funneled down through the state of California, it funnels through each county, and each county has a commission. I am the appointee, and when you have 34 members on the commission, it's an honor to serve as the vice chair or even the chairperson. And Darrell led a lot of efforts when it comes to rail. He loved rail, and one of the efforts he led was getting the Paris Valley Line into Paris. It's a beautiful station, and he was always proud to take people on tours and do whatever he could. He did not win his last election, but he won 6 elections in a row. And he served the city of Paris, and his services will be on December 7th in the city of Paris. So if you're interested, you can find that online. He served for 17 years as the mayor of Paris. So he had a lot of stuff. So I'd like everybody to stand, take a moment of silence, and then what we will do is have Troop 1606 lead us in the flag. Please join me. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Oh, she came on.
Thank you again to Troop 1606. All right, we'll have the city attorney now report on closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We have one reportable action pertaining to number 4 on the closed session agenda. It was moved by Councilmember Parks, seconded by Councilmember McKee. The vote was 4-0 with Councilmember Betts' recusal to approve the first extension of a tolling agreement by and between the Atkinson Family Revocable Living Trust and the City of Desert Hot Springs relating to extension of tentative track maps 35009 and 35448. The agreement pretty much allows the city to negotiate specifically relating to particular terms. The tolling agreement shall expire on June 9th, 2018. And in addition to that, the City Council voted 4-0 in the same manner. Ms. Parks moving with Councilmember McKee seconded, and vote of 4-0. Mr. Betts recusing himself to waive any attorney-client privilege pertaining to the tolling agreement.
Mr. Betts has a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a brief correction, as that it wasn't a recusal. I had no conflict in this. It was my view that the discussions were properly handled, since it was a tolling agreement with significant public interest, that all the discussion and debate and the vote should have taken place here in open session rather than being just simply reported out. So I chose not to participate in the closed session.
Noted for the record. Any other action need to be reported out, Madam City Attorney? All right, with that, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. At this time, we'll be approving the consent calendar in whole unless somebody would like to move an item or pull an item. I do have one correction from staff on item number 18. The announcement of the item says zone 32. It is actually zone 30, and the actual recommendation is correct. If you look under there, it does state zone 30. Just a correction for the public. On the announcement of the item, it will be different than what's printed. With that said, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have public comments. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any persons may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. With that, all comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain professional, courteous decorum during public comments. Our first comment is Donna Wardeen, followed by Nick, how do you say it, Verallo? Verallo.
Members, council members, and all y'all. Just a few notes that I'd like to make. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for the fabulous tree lighting event. I thought it was really hugely successful this year. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people were there. Next, I want to thank publicly the members, individual members of the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club, who made donations to the goodie bags that were handed out at the Veterans Appreciation Day at Westfield Mall in Palm Desert. If you haven't gotten tickets yet, please hurry. There are still 4 tickets left for the Desert Hot Springs Black and White event dinner and fundraiser at Miracle Springs, and that will be on Monday, December 9th They're $40 each. And if you are, also, we are going to be participating in the parade coming up. So we look forward to that. And Brian McDaniels was a recipient of one of our scholarships. And if you're wondering who we are the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club. We raise money here in Desert Hot Springs. We give it all away in Desert Hot Springs to the youth and for the youth of our city. So if you're curious and you want to be a member, see our new president, Barbara Eastman, or myself, Donna Wardeen. We're in the book. Also, I would like to make a huge thank you for a successful Veterans Appreciation Day, December 3rd at Westfield Mall. I'd also like to congratulate Edward on his new, there he is, on his new title.
Mr. Caretaker.
Also, Mayor Pro Tem Yvonne Parks came to that event, that Veterans Appreciation Day. So just another quick note, flyers are out, it's official. Because this person has done and is still doing so much throughout the desert and completes what he starts out to do. This person will represent Desert Hot Springs. He will be honored Thursday, February 22nd at the Riverside County Fair and State Date Festival at the grandstands at 6 o'clock. He is a decorated Purple Heart Vietnam War veteran. His name is Edward G. Johnson. He will be the first veteran that the Riverside County Fair has honored individually. This is a huge honor, not only for Eddie, but for Desert Hot Springs. And so I hope you'll all attend. And veterans get in free. Our city council gets in free, 6 o'clock, February 22nd, the real Washington's birthday.
Thank you, Donna. That's your 3 minutes. You'll have plenty more time in the next few months to announce it. Thank you so much. Nick Veralou, followed by Eddie Johnson.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just for a correction, the black and white, the Monday is actually the 11th of December and not the 9th.
Sorry, error.
December 11th. Yep, Monday.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'd like to hold up this picture. This is Buster. After spending 4 years in the desert, Buster decided to taste the leaves of an oleander. We got him to the emergency hospital in Indio within 30 minutes from the time we saw him chewing on the leaves. The hospital followed the treatment plan given to them by the ASPCA poison control veterinarian. 36 hours later, Buster took his last breath. He was only 5 years old. This just happened the day before Thanksgiving. According to the ASPCA poison control, there have been over 200 reported cases of oleander poisoning this year alone. How many pets ingested this poison and their owners were not aware? Nobody knows. This plant only grows in the Southwest, South Florida, and Hawaii. Myself and my wife are trying to make the public aware of just how dangerous this plant is. Every single part of this plant can kill your pet or even you. It is poison. If the name were changed to poison oleander, I'm sure it would not be allowed to be planted or even sold. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's poison. Oleander is also a very dirty plant. The dead or brown leaves blow around everywhere, and they're every bit as dangerous. You may not even have a plant on your property. That doesn't mean you and your pets are out of danger. If a leaf should fall into your beverage while you enjoy a drink on your patio, at the very least, you will become very sick and possibly die if you are not extremely healthy. If your pet drinks from a puddle that an oleander leaf was floating in, your pet may die, especially if you didn't see it happening. You want to take that chance? It only takes 40 10,000ths of an ounce to kill a 10-pound dog or possibly a child. Oleander does not just pose a danger to small pets, it can also kill a horse. I could go on and on about how oleander can kill, but I don't have that much time left. If you have any doubts about the danger, you're welcome to just Google it as is oleander poisonous. Oleander has already been banned in Norco, California, and Riverside, California, with a population of over 300,000 people. It's also been removed where it was growing. It's also been banned in Cave Creek, Arizona, Cottonwood, Arizona. Yorba Linda, California is considering a total ban. Mesa and Phoenix, Arizona have planting restrictions. CBS Local 2 has taken an interest in the story, and I was interviewed by Tom Tucker from The Morning Show, which will air very soon. For the safety of our pets and loved ones, we would like to add Desert Hot Springs to the list of cities that have done the right thing and banned this very dangerous plant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Eddie Johnson, followed by Mike Picardi. Mike Picardi is my last blue card. Anybody like to speak on any items not on the agenda? This is your second call.
Good evening, my name's Eddie Johnson, Vietnam vet. Council members, mayor, residents, and city officials. I want to compliment whoever was in charge of the tree lighting. I was the first one I've been to, and this place was packed with children, having a good time for a change in the city, and I'm very pleased and happy, and I heard that Roberta here was the main person that ran everything and got things going, and everybody else fell into place. I'm going to say thank you to everybody who was involved with that. I think it was awesome. And I might add one other thing. Yvonne Parks, you've gone to every event that I've done for veterans. And I want to say personally thank you for you, because everything I've done, you've been there in support. I love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. And your sentiments on the Christmas tree lighting, I think, comes from all the city council. We can't say thank you enough to staff. There's nothing like seeing our community development director, Daniel Porras, and other staff members dressed as elves.
We have pictures.
Danny thought
right?
we all forgot.
There are pictures.
Yes.
And they will be published.
We just couldn't find an elf suit to fit the city manager. Now we're even. All right, moving on, Mike.
Thank you. My name is Mike Picardi. I'm a resident of Desert Hot Springs. I was going to comment on a couple of the things that were just said. I was honored today to go to the Women's Club for their Christmas event, and I presented information about the library. And those women are incredible. I mean, I can't believe the things that they do. They were just, and they just keep going, and they do what they do, and it's great. So I was going to give a shout out to them for all of the goodies that they put together for Eddie's event. Okay, moving on. This Thursday, December 7th, which is the day after tomorrow, is the next in the series in the Meet Your Local Author series. We will be presenting Joanne Hardy and her historical fiction novel, The Girl in the Butternut Dress. Please join us this Thursday beginning at 6 o'clock at the Senior Center. And every third Thursday is Meet Your Local Author Night at the Senior Center, sponsored by the Friends of the Desert Hot Springs Library. The only bookstore in Desert Hot Springs is open every Saturday from 10 to 3, excepting holidays. Excuse me, excepting holiday weekends. The Friends of the Library have set up this wonderful store full of many books donated to the library by the community. This Saturday, for example, we have a collection of James Patterson first editions, including the Women's Murder Club, and of course, all of his Alex Cross novels. I can't read my own writing, I'm sorry. Please visit dhsdaily.com and check out all of the meetings, events, and other happenings here in DHS. Just for an upside, there are over 30 posts right now on DHS Daily between now and the next council meeting, which is 2 weeks from now. I do want to make a quick comment about the Christmas lighting. You guys are going to get stroked. You're not going to get out of here, because your heads will be too big. But it was pretty incredible, and I want to thank the city and staff and the, doesn't get thanked enough, and I think they need it, is the COP. Citizens on Patrol did an incredible job, and I think they need a round. There you go. Again, thank you for letting me speak, and happy holidays.
Just one correction: there is no city council meeting in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yes, we're on winter schedule. January 19th, I believe, is the next one.
Then there's probably 78 things between now and then.
Thanks,
Check
Mike.
it out, because there's a lot going on down at the VFW. They're doing some incredible things down there for the vets, and I think it's a neat place to go, and I think the food's fabulous. So check it out. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mike. I did have one card put in at the last minute. This is the final call for cards. Ted Meyerhoff? Meyerhoffen? I don't know why I always want to stop at Hoff. I'm sorry, I was saying your last name, and for some reason I always want to start at Meyerhoff, and I don't want to get the N in there. Ted?
Yes, Mayor Mattis, council, city staff. As we all know, come January 1st, medical marijuana, I put weed down there because I'm not sure what I should call it anymore. Marijuana, I guess, or weed or whatever. But anyways, January 1st, it'll become recreational. I haven't seen anything being posted as to what the citizens here, as they come about the 1st of January, what they should be doing or not doing with this recreational marijuana now. As we know, in the state of Colorado, the first day that they became recreational marijuana, people were in the parks getting stoned, they had medical calls, they had a number of issues. Our police department is doing a great job of being proactive instead of reactive, and they have turned to social media, as many police departments and law enforcement agencies are doing. We have a great opportunity here for about the next 3 weeks to let the public know what they can do and can't do come the 1st of January. I'd hate to see a bunch of people just walking down the street smoking. There's already problems with guys carrying joints in their hands, and you can smell it for 20 feet away in a store. So I would like to ask the council and the police chief and city manager to, if there's something they could put out there for all the residents to look at so they know what they can do and can't do, and hopefully that word will get out to the ones that really need to have it get out to and save some troubles. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all the public comments we have tonight. We'll move on to the city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor and the members of the council, I didn't get an elf outfit because I was supposed to be the backup Santa Claus.
That was.
And I want to make sure that's clear to everybody.
Yeah, got it.
I think I fit that a little bit better. I do want to say a couple things about the tree lighting event. It took a significant amount of effort and time and work on our staff above and beyond what they do. There was a large group that got together and actually planned the entire event, and then I've asked Doria here, and Doria, of course, she was Mrs. Claus out there. Now, she wasn't the Mrs. Claus that got to sit in the sleigh and enjoy being with the kids and saying all the nice things. She's the one that had to run around making sure everything worked. So she was the Mrs. Claus project manager. And then, of course, we had an elf in charge of all elves, which was Rob down here at the end, and you could tell that was Rob because she was running around frantically with a clipboard making sure everything was done properly. So with that being said, I'd like to recognize the members of our city staff that did in fact put the time and effort and went the extra mile to ensure this was a very successful event.
So with that being said, there is a very long list of people that I would like to recognize. And then personally, I also want to thank Roberta. Without her, this couldn't have happened. I was able to delegate so much, and she ran with it, and so thank you. Also want to thank the Christmas committee members, which included Joe Tanner, Administrative Services Director, Carla Moranin, Scott Wittig, Jim Henson, Lynn Paul, Anna Morales, and Jackie Chapman. Our elves, Richard Min, Tyler Messer, Margarita Paredo, Guadalupe Rocha, Michael Ressler, Michael Ray Burke, and Melissa Purcell. Our public works crews, Scotty Wittig, James Harbin, Otto Mesa, Pablo Encino, Caleb Levea, hopefully got that right, and John Garcia. Our police department, who showed up in full force to be there with the kids, Dale Mondary, Jim Henson, Gus Paez, Larry Essex, Yesenia Barolo, Corinne Lindsay, and Israel Mendez. And of course, the large group of citizens on patrol that worked diligently all night. So again, thank you to everybody. We were very, very happy to be able to put this event on for the community and look forward to a bigger event next year.
And with that being said, you're going to see a lot of those same people out this coming Saturday for our parade, which starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday the 9th. So please make sure that you're all there.
Saturday morning.
Did I say that? What did I say?
Not.
You Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I'm still trying to find the right Santa suit, so maybe it'll happen.
All right, thank you. No other reports from staff? Okay. Mayor and council member comments. Who would like to go first tonight? Mr. Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick announcement on Sunline. We have Line 20 Express, which runs from Desert Hot Springs just about nonstop to COD, College of the Desert, and gets there in 30 minutes. We've made a slight adjustment to that route. Instead of going up Monterey to COD, it's now going to make a stop at UCR, University of... Thank you. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here tonight. Anyhow, so if we have students going to UCR and then to COD or back and forth, so it's an enhancement to the line. And the good news is it won't take any more time to get to COD. So it's just a little further down and up Cook Street. So that worked out nice. And we're also interlining line 14, which means instead of it taking off out of the station there for the start of a state, it'll interline, and that should improve the on-time performance with that line, and it's also going to provide a significant savings. And then Sunline's been doing a lot of work to look at the routes and improve them, and I think we're coming up with a savings of about $900,000 for a single year to with just efficiency improvements, but no change in the service. So some good things going on down there. I was at the Family Resource Center. We had 8 people who are graduating who have made a commitment to turn their lives around as members of the AB 109 community. Have jobs, and it's a really good program down there, and it was really nice to see these people who have made a commitment to say, you know, what I was doing before isn't good, and what I'm going to do now is a whole lot better. So it was really good to be able to talk to them and work with the probation officer that's assigned to our city and spend some time there and see what that's all about. I spent time at COD as a judge, judging speeches, and Vaughn was there with me as a judge, and it was quite a challenge to go through 20 speeches and decide which one was the best. And so did that. Stopped in at the Senior Center and saw a nice presentation by Riverside County Supervisor Manuel Perez, who was letting the seniors, getting them some information that they needed to know about. I understand, Mr. City Manager, that we are working on the acoustics in that room because the echo is horrible, and we're working on that, right?
I'm sure that the last meeting you saw, or at that meeting you saw significant progress in there, and there is acoustic. We have one bid. We're asking for 2 more bids on the acoustic ceiling, and there's additional furniture and some other changes being made in the senior center.
Okay, good. And I just wanted to say that for the benefit of the seniors that are listening, because they all did very much notice the improvement. It's been a long time over there with pretty Spartan conditions, and so it's nice. There's some new pictures on the walls, and everybody did take note, and it's really a very, very active senior center now. In fact, it's so active that the senior exercise class has now outgrown its room, and I don't know if the council has to discuss this or if you can just wave your magic wand, but this room sits empty, and they need more room, so they're wondering if they can use this room for their senior exercises, so if that could be arranged.
Dora's already met with Melanie today, and we're working out arrangements for that. What's going on is the senior programs now have attracted so many seniors, they're kind of bursting at the seams over next door. So maybe in the next year or so, we may be adding on to that building. We'll see. But
Okay, well,
I just wanted to let you know that.
They're in that back room, and they're all trying to exercise, and unless they're in perfect unison, they're bumping into each other now. So, and then the last thing is, I just want to say thanks to all the staff for that tree lighting and concert event. It was really, really good. Luke, I don't know if you set the world record for serving cotton candy, but that line was moving quick, and there was a lot of people. Did you see anything other than the inside of that cotton candy machine? And everything else was just so well done. Doria, Roberta, everybody. I can't possibly name everybody that worked on that thing, but it was a lot of work, and that was way above and beyond. That was a lot of city employee love for the city, putting on an event for this community. So thank you very much. You guys did a great, great job.
And I'm so sorry. There were 2 people that I did fail to thank, and I want to thank Luke and you, Russ. you were a very big part of the planning here, and I want to personally thank you because you really assisted over the last several months, so thank you.
No, it's okay. I just did a couple of suggestions and they listened, so that was okay. But no, you guys did all the work. It was just absolutely fantastic. It was such a fun time. So thank you, everybody. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Parks?
Yes, I didn't have a lot over this last period, but I did, as Russ mentioned, judge the COD speech competition. The subject contents for session 1, which I had 9 students, was persuasion. And they all had different aspects, and you had to rate them and score them on presentation and content. So it was quite challenging. Session 2 was informative. So their subject had to be information and a lot of citing of content and where they got the information. So it was quite challenging. DHS Christmas tree lighting event, wow, very well done. I was going to say congrats to Doria, Roberta, so many wonderful staff personnel. Too many to mention, but thanks to Doria, she has mentioned them. But they know who they are, and thank you. Now, Russ said the line was short for cotton candy. I never got into the line because it was always so long. So I think next year we have to have 2 cotton candy stands.
Yvonne, Councilmember Parks, next year we will be planning for all of the additional booths and such. There was such an overwhelming turnout.
My daughter and I wanted cotton candy in the worst way.
Luke, there's the machine still sitting behind Melissa's desk. Can you run down and grab? I'm joking.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you. I've been in this city 23 years. This was by far the best tree lighting event this city has ever seen. So thank you. I want to thank Rick Wade and Desert Valley Disposal for hosting a wonderful viewing of the Palm Springs Festival of the Lights Parade. I got there early, staked out my spot, sat in my little walker there to view the parade from the 3rd floor balcony. Wonderful. Used my daughter as my gopher. She went, got my food, got my drinks, and all I did was sit there and watch the parade. What an event. That was wonderful. We had the opportunity to visit with many wonderful people that attended. They were from DVD, Our City, but especially I want to shout out to Chris Cunningham. You have seen Chris Cunningham come and speak before the City Council on DVD activities and what's going on. Well, he has a 7-year-old son. His name is Connor. I swear, he's the smartest kid you could ever imagine. He was right there with my daughter's friend, and they were conversing the whole night on who's the best in football, who's the best in basketball, who's the best singer, and he had them all down. He knew all avenues. So thank you, Connor, for a wonderful presentation of your smarts. Eddie Johnson, our wonderful Vietnam vet, outdid himself this year with the display of and for veterans at the center of the Westfield Mall, right next to Santa Claus. He had music, he had entertainment. The Women's Club, Donna Wardine, had wonderful bags of goodies for the veterans. The Marines were represented. Anyway, it was, thank you, Eddie, and you make DHS proud. I attended the board meeting of the Desert Community Edge Joint Powers Authority. Palm Desert, Cathedral City, and Palm Springs have already joined the Community Choice Aggregation, JPA. Desert Hot Springs did not vote to join, but will revisit the subject in January. By joining, the residents of Desert Hot Springs have the opportunity to get their electricity at a reduced cost by allowing the Joint Powers Authority to purchase renewable energy at a lesser cost and pass that savings on to them. I hope our council rethinks the advantages of being part of the group. Southern California Edison is on a roll to increase REIS even more in the future. Now, this evening, our county supervisor, Manny Perez, is having a wonderful event in his office, a holiday event, and we're here. We should be there celebrating with Manny. Thank you, Manny, for having the event. And that ends my comments. Thank you.
If you could read and pass it down.
Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I went to meetings. I want to talk about something else, and that's basically this year. There wasn't just a tree lighting. There were a whole bunch of things that happened this year. And although we sort of sat here and passed judgment on how much we should spend and had some interesting meetings, for the most part, the execution was done by our staff, which has done an excellent job in a multitude of areas. You know, beautifying the city as far as the meridians, working on the parks. The tree lighting was an extension of that. But what I want to be thankful for is this. We completed a year, from my perspective, that the police department again did a fantastic job under the leadership of Dale Mondary. Our fire department continues to work their butts off, excuse my French, as one of the busiest fire department stations in the county. And our staff continues to work very hard, much harder than most of the other city staffs have to, because we don't have as many people. But in the long run, if we look back at this year, I think a few years from now, what we're going to remember is this was the time we really started to turn it around. And I especially appreciate the leadership of Charles Maynard. You've done more than we could ask you to do. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ms. Zavala.
I also attended the annual tree lighting, and it was really, really spectacular, and there was so many people there, and it was amazing to see that, our community coming together. And I just want to say I love our city staff. Every single one of them works so hard to keep our city running and afloat. I know we're here as elected officials, and you know, we have these council meetings, but you know, behind the scenes, it's really city staff. City staff is the one that keeps the city running day in and day out. So big shout out to city staff. I love you all. And then I also had a meeting with Lilac, with Connie Montgomery, who's the executive director, and we just talked a little bit about literacy in Desert Hot Springs and how we could better address some of the needs here. As you know, I'm on staff with Supervisor Perez, and I staffed him at the Senior Center listening tour here in Desert Hot Springs. The Senior Center is doing so well, and it was decorated so beautifully, and the seniors there were really engaged. And I know I sent Chuck a few texts, hey, can you follow up on this? And this was a city issue. And he's been doing a phenomenal job of making sure that our seniors are heard. And then I also attended the Food Now Chili Cook-Off fundraiser in Rancho Mirage on Saturday. It was beautiful, at a beautiful estate out in Rancho Mirage, and I saw you guys there. Great chili. And then I also attended the Desert Valley Disposal viewing of the Palm Springs Festival of Lights Parade. Got to hang out with Yvonne right next to her spot, so it was pretty fun. But since we won't be meeting until January, I just want to wish everyone happy holidays and a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll try to make this short. We were invited to a cap and trade meeting put on by the Western cities here in the west end of the valley. Cap and trade is a form of tax collection that goes back to road improvements and those types of things. The Western cities are trying to build a coalition through Palm Springs, Castillo City, Desert Hot Springs, and the county to try to vie for our fair share. And the reason for this is that Assemblyman Garcia is working really hard on changing the parameters and criteria of what the requirements are to meet to actually receive some of this funding, and our city would qualify to receive quite a bit of funding if this criteria is changed. So we're just planning to see if there's a possibility of momentum in the future. So myself, Mr. Betts, and Mr. Maynard are on that 2x2 with the other cities to talk about opportunities. We'll be meeting again after the holidays. Riverside County Transportation Budget and Implementation Meeting. This is a committee I sit on for Riverside County Transportation. SB1's been the big talk. That's the new tax that you pay at the gas pump. It's supposed to go back to local roads and highway systems. There is a little bit of nervousness, if that's a word, in the transportation industry because of the fact that there's multiple proposals out there to repeal this new tax. No one likes a tax, but if it's going to happen, we want to make sure we get our fair share. So the momentum is kind of up in the air right now on whether we're going to, but there is planning being done as of now for the tax revenue. We're not sure what the federal government's going to be doing after the first of the year, but we have heard rumors that there is going to be a transportation bill passed, and that's another opportunity for federal transportation funding to come through the state of California and back to local levels. So we're working to plan for that. Because of the House bill that's being passed, the tax reform bill by the federal government, the Riverside County Transportation Agency has decided to take this opportunity to sell some or to repay our bonds. 2010 and 13, we had these bonds that were to build major highway systems. If you've ever gone out to Riverside and you saw the big 91, 60, 215 interchange, that was one of them. On the 15, there was express lanes. These bonds are to be paid back, and if we do it now at the rate that we're doing it, the taxpayers will save over $39 million immediately and $29 million over 20 years. It's $410 million that's going to be repaid back. This is a great job by the Finance Department at RCTC to make sure that the taxpayers' money is being spent correctly. Those are the items that pertain. These will actually be going to the General Commission meeting on the 13th of December. The city manager and I met with God's Kitchen to talk about their concerns. As you saw in force, they were here at the last meeting. We needed to give them an opportunity to speak to us about their concerns. I believe they're working out their plans to utilize the center for one day and possibly another location so that the homeless can still be fed 2 days, if not more, a week. The Economic Development Committee met. Myself and Joe McKee represent the City Council on the committee. Anybody can be part of this committee. It's open to the public. We talked about the new Economic Development Plan that's been produced by Econ Solutions, which will be coming to the City Council very soon. The plan was unveiled. The committee gave its comments, and those will be going back and coming back to the City Council very soon after the first of the year. I want to say thank you to staff again for the tree lighting. You guys did a fantastic job, even though I was joking a little bit about the elf costumes, but they really thank you, staff, for stepping up. Wearing those costumes made kids smile. It made the people that were there feel that you were friendly and they were human, because a lot of times government doesn't seem to be human at all, and that was really important to our constituents here. I don't know if they knew you were staff, but I think they felt very welcome there. The noses were flashing. It was great.
I think friendly is a bridge too far.
And Roberta, thank you for keeping us all on track. I tried to get up on stage multiple times to do the countdown. She says, "It's not 7 o'clock yet." She had everybody running by the tee, and she literally had people minute by minute that it was supposed to be done doing their thing, and she did a fantastic job. And so again, thank you to all of you. The Coachella Valley Association of Governments executive meeting, the city manager and I attended last night. There was a couple things that pertain to Desert Hot Springs. They gave an update on the Coachella Valley San Gorgonio Pass Rail Corridor Project. If you're not familiar with this, a couple years ago we started working in a subcommittee to bring rail to the Coachella Valley. It's been tried many times, but bringing Riverside County Transportation into the mix and using their staff the way we have, we've actually come up with a route. Goes through from Indio all the way to the LA Union Station. It goes through 4 counties, so there's obviously a lot of collaboration that has to be done. The preferred route has been chosen. The next steps are to try to fund the study and other things. There's a lot more that has to be done. This is probably at least 5 to 10 years out, but at least the ball continues to move forward. This is the problem that's happened in the past, is the ball stopped and then it doesn't get picked back up. But having this agency involved, I think, is probably the key. So working with Coachella Valley Association of Governments and WRCOG and Riverside County Transportation, it was a good update. The community choice aggregation, there was a vote made by the executive committee due to the fact that Desert Hot Springs is not a partner in that yet. I abstained from the vote, as did most agencies that are not. There was enough votes to move forward. The executive committee hired Desert Community Energy as a management services organization. Shelley Kaplan, council member of Cathedral City, was elected chair. And I believe once Palm Desert finishes its second reading on their ordinance to join this, the vice chair will be Sabby Jonathan. They also entered into an agreement with WRCOG, Los Angeles Community, I think it's Community Choice Energy, and for legal and cost sharing in this venture. If Desert Hot Springs chooses to be a partner in this with those agencies that are involved, then we will vote on this possibly in January after coming back for more discussion. And if we do, it'll be about 6 months out because the current partners have to go in front of the PUC and become organized, and then others can join in the future. We also have an ad hoc committee at the CVAG, Coachella Valley Association of Governments level for cap and trade. With Assemblyman Garcia's proposal again to open up this area. There's a very small portion in the Eastern Valley that actually qualifies right now, and being that if you go through most of the cities in Coachella Valley, there's underprivileged opportunity when it comes to cap and trade, and the formula does not work correctly. It goes directly to the larger cities right now. This is an opportunity. So Supervisor Perez, Indio, Coachella, Agua Calientes, Palm Springs were all suggested by the Transportation Committee to be on this ad hoc committee. And then there was a proposal from Cathedral City to add Desert Hot Springs to it. And I accepted that proposal. I appointed myself as the member to the ad hoc committee for now until after the first of the year when it's formed. And then when we reassign people, if anybody's interested in being on that ad hoc, please let me know and we'll go from there. But this is a great opportunity for us to get some local funding for transportation in the future. I missed a lot of events this weekend. It was for a good reason. My son got married. So I'm really happy for him, and he's very happy. He flew to New York last night on a red eye with his new wife, and they're going to spend 8 days in New York. I don't know why New York, but they had this thing about New York. They wanted to see a bunch of sights out there, and so I'm very happy for them. I'm sorry I missed the chili cook-off for the first time since Food Now's put it on. I usually cook my chili for that. I never win. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I really missed being there this weekend, but it was very important that I spend that time with my son. Lucas, my oldest. No, my youngest is still in college. He's not getting married yet, no. And then I had a breakfast meeting this morning with Pam Hunter from COD, who's working on programs for the cannabis industry for training, and we're collaborating on some educational opportunities. It was a great meeting, and we'll be meeting again after the first of the year. And then I just want to take a moment to reflect back on this year and thank you as our constituents by holding us to the standards that we need to be held at this level. It's been a fun year, honestly, and you can't say that a lot in government, but we've had some great opportunities. Desert Hot Springs financially has secured itself with this tax measure that was passed last time for the future. The cannabis industry is something that I never thought I would support 10 years ago, but after momentum and the last 4 years of understanding it, they've been very professional and they've come into our city to help with the future of Desert Hot Springs. I want to thank the City Council for working hand in hand with me as a partner. This is never about one of us, it's about all 5 of us. Even though we debate and not always have the same view, we've been, for the most part, very respectful of that. And last, I want to thank staff for all your hard work this year. You've been overworked, we get that, but you've done a fantastic job to keep all 5 of us happy, and that's not easy. So thank you for that. And again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever you spend it and however you spend it, be safe. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing is item number 8. This is AB 16, Annual Report, Development Impact Fee and Resolution, making findings and reaffirming the necessity of certain development impact fees. This is our Administrative Services Director, Joseph Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. This AB 1600 report is required by California law to be reviewed in a public hearing format every year. The purpose of the development impact fee is to collect funds from development and put those funds to use for the community to mitigate certain aspects or certain impacts to the community. There's a number of findings that have to be made. The first is that the impact fee is, in fact, in the municipal code. There is a continued need to still collect development impact fees, and then also that the fees collected are based on a master facilities plan. Also, there is a requirement to spend the money after 5 years. However, because certain projects take so long to collect the funds needed, they do allow you to keep the funds for longer, but you just have to have findings. So the 3 that we are still holding on to for longer than 5 years are the fire suppression and response vehicles, streets, bridges, traffic signals, and also storm drain facilities. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council has regarding this item.
I'm open to public hearing right now, and I'll take public testimony first. Does anybody like to speak to this item? If you'd like to speak to this item, you just come forth, say your name, and your time will begin. Final call. I see nobody at this point. I will close the public hearing and allow council to ask questions. Mr. Betts.
I'd like to thank staff for a very complete, thorough staff report. It was very clear. Every question I had, I started to write them down, and I read the agenda, and darn, they were all answered for me, so I didn't have any questions on this one. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, if that's time for that.
I have nobody else in the queue. Please feel free.
Okay, make a motion adopting a resolution of the City Council, making findings as presented in the staff report and reaffirming the necessity of the development impact fees as enumerated.
Do I have to have a motion also on item number 4, Madam City Attorney? It says review and accept the, is that part of the motion?
Yeah, and to review and accept AB 1600 Annual Report and Development Impact Fees for the period ending June 30th, 2017, as shown in Exhibit 2.
And there's no problem doing those together?
What was it?
There's no problem doing those together?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Betts has done that. It's been moved. Mr. McKee, you second it. Any other discussion? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. Item number 9 is a zoning map amendment, number 0117, a general plan amendment, 0117, a request to change the zoning and general plan land use designations from RD, Desert Rural, to IL, Light Industrial, for 2 parcels located on the south side of Dillon Road between Little Morongo Road and, is that Bierce Road?
Yeah, correct.
APN 666-280-014. EN 666-290-010, in the Scott Tadger.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. Okay. The project location and current designation are shown on the exhibit that's on the screen. You can see it's on the south side of Dillon Road, west of Little Morongo. Okay. The request is a change designation from Rural Desert RD to LI, Light Industrial. Okay, thank you. Here's the official exhibit requesting the change for 2 parcels totaling 9.7 acres. Here's some site photos. This is taken across Dillon, looking back towards Mount San Jacinto. You can see the existing commercial building there on the left. And then further in the background towards the right, you can see the Angel View Distribution Center. The right photo is looking down Bierce Road, obviously unimproved. Behind that tree, there are 2 residences. One of them is occupied, one is empty. At least that's what staff can tell. The other photo is looking towards the east from Biersch, near the northwest corner of the project site. Got some additional photos here looking southeast. You can see that it's pretty close to the transmission lines for the Southern California Edison right-of-way. Also, there's another photo looking southwest, a little bit better picture of the existing residences. And then, I'm sorry, this is across the street, north side of Dillon Road, which is all vacant. Here we've got an aerial showing the project site. You can see the existing solar field to the east, to the right, and the directly adjacent on the right, also the commercial building. The sites on the left or to the west are the Angel View Distribution Center, I think Dylan's Burger restaurants there, and a few other small commercial businesses. In the orange, you can see that's the easement for the Southern California Edison transmission lines. Pursuant to section 15063 of CEQA, an initial study was prepared and a notice of intent to adopt a negative declaration was sent to all applicable agencies, property owners within 300 feet of the project, and it was published in the Desert Star Weekly on September 29th. We also did an additional 10-day public hearing notice for this meeting. It was a week ago Friday to meet that requirement. The initial study and neg deck are attached to this report as exhibit number 6. As of this evening, the only comments the staff has received is from other property owners that would like to do the same. So no specific opposition comments for this request. That being said, just a quick side note on the general plan update. Dillon Road is designated as a major arterial, and during our 2018 general plan update, that may be considered for redesignation, but at this point, the current designation stands of RD. Staff has been recommending that property owners do have the option of participating in our citywide general plan update that is now underway. Staff anticipates conducting public outreach meetings this coming spring, March, April, May of 2018, and our current schedule has us on pace for presentation to Planning Commission in summer of 2018 and to Council next fall. This did go to Planning Commission on October 23rd, and they made a recommendation to the City Council to deny the request for the general plan and zone map amendment. They did so based on the following findings. The commission was opposed to spot zoning. The proposed use will be incompatible with some of the surrounding and existing land uses, namely the Angel View, the restaurant, some of the commercial businesses, and even they mentioned the solar field. Excuse me. And 2 more findings. One, that this would increase the property value. You know, any approval would directly result in advantage to the property owner. And then there are other areas and other properties elsewhere in the city for this type of development. So there are 4 findings for denial. And the recommendation tonight is one of 2 options. One, to uphold the Planning Commission's decision to deny the zone map amendment and general plan amendment with the appropriate findings contained in the resolution, which such findings can be amended as the City Council deems fit. Or option B, to overturn the Planning Commission's decision to deny the requested zone map and general plan amendment and thereby approve a change of zoning from RD to light industrial and adopt the appropriate findings as made by City Council for the 2 vacant properties located on the south side of Dillon Road, APN 666-280-014 and 666-290-010. Excuse me. The required findings for both approval of the zone map, which would overturn the Planning Commission's decision, and denial of the zone map and general plan amendment, which would uphold their decision, both can be found in the attached resolutions. Should the council take action on this item tonight, there are resolutions and findings supporting both actions. That concludes staff's report. We do have applicant and their consultant is here as well, and we're available for questions.
All right, at this time, I'll take questions from the council before I open the public hearing and allow the applicant to speak. Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We theoretically, in a year period, are supposed to only do 6 of these sorts of changes. Is that true?
State law is 4.
4?
In a calendar year.
It's a calendar year.
Yeah.
How many have we done this year so
3.
far?
3, this will be the 4th. But starting January 1 would start a new calendar year. But we also already have 3 potential general plan amendments set for this coming year. One being the comprehensive general plan update. We've got Tuscan Hills in, and we've got Desert Land Ventures in.
The question I have is, we can't do this as a general area. It has to be specific parcels. Is that true?
Well, that's the 2 options. We especially with this general plan citywide update, we're trying to steer people away from doing just 1 or 2 parcels. We typically want them to, talk to other property owners and try and do a bigger. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand in the general plan, the question revolves around this. We cannot do multiple plans as this sort of multiple parcels as this action.
Actually, I think in state law, I think you can, as long as one action, you could do multiple general plan amendments as long as one action.
Was that the question, or was your question?
The question is, we have other people in this area that want the same thing. Why would we do just the 1 parcel is a question I have.
Currently, what's before the city council is just this application for the 2 parcels.
I understand. The question is, can we do it for multiple parcels if they're contiguous?
We could.
We could in theory, yes. Not this evening, but we could in theory, yes.
Thank you.
I have nobody else in the queue at this time. I will open the public hearing and take testimony from the applicant at this time. Would the applicant like to speak to the city council? Paul, if you can introduce yourself again for the 15th, 100th time this year.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, nice to see you all tonight. It's nice to see the weather turning a little colder. I'm actually starting to feel like the holidays are maybe here now. So, but yeah, for the record, my name is Paul DePilatus. I'm the planning director for MSA Consulting, and I'm here representing the applicant, Duke Chang, tonight. I wanted to take just a minute to talk about Duke before I go into my presentation, but Duke has owned this property for about 12 years. During that time, he's paid his taxes regularly, and this property is a key piece of his retirement plan, so he's been looking to sell it for a while. The problem he has with it right now is that he can't sell it because of the zoning on the property, which is RD. And, we hope this will happen this year maybe, but there have been multiple promises under various administrations at the city that there would be a general plan amendment that would solve all this, but to date, that hasn't occurred, and so consequently, Mr. Chang felt he needed to sort of take his destiny in his own hands and actually pay the money to us to help and for the city fees to actually see if he could get his own property rezoned. So that's why that's before you tonight. As staff mentioned, this is in a zone called RD. There's light industrial to the south of this. And this is what the property looks like with an aerial photograph staff showed earlier. Looking at the existing uses in the area, although Planning Commission characterized them as being not consistent with industrial, if you look at what's out there right now, you've got a high overhead transmission line, you've got a solar farm, You've got a rock quarry, a thrift warehouse, and various other primarily commercial sorts of enterprises. So I think that initially, as a land use pattern out there, that sort of sets the stage for this. In addition, as was mentioned, there are other property owners in the area that are interested in seeing a similar change for their property. Susan Miller and her husband actually went out and polled those other owners, and the properties in green here are ones that would be favorable to seeing this project approved with industrial as well as their own. So there's a very homogeneous and consistent interest in a different zone, and commercial or industrial would be the one that they prefer to see there. So one thing that everybody agrees on is that the RD zone needs to be changed, mainly because it does not exist in the city zoning code. There is no RD zone in the city, and so consequently, the maps that show RD, when a person wants to go in and talk to someone about the property, the city come to talk to the city, and they can't figure out what they can do with it. The original staff recommendation for this project was approval before it went to Planning Commission. And some of the reasons this causes problems is that, every successive administration we have coming into the planning department, because there is no zoning on it, they have to subjectively decide how to direct people what to do with the property. This results in sort of inconsistent land use reviews. It deters investment in the area because someone doesn't know what they're buying when they purchase the property. It clouds property sales and it depresses property values. So this zone, having been here for so long, has been a very big headache for the owners of land in this area. And then I'd also like to suggest that the city has dealt with projects incrementally in this area as they've come before them, Angel being a case in point, the solar farm being a case in point. And essentially what they've established is the de facto pattern of industrial land uses in this area, even though they haven't rezoned it. That's the nature of the projects they've approved there. Just to respond to a few maybe hypothetical objections to this rezoning, one thing might be asked is this rezoning inconsistent with the general plan? And the answer to that question is no. Should this be approved with rezoning and general plan amendment, it would be then consistent with the general plan. Is this spot zoning? No. The project abuts industrial zone to the south, so it connects to that. There is no spot zoning here. Another question that might be asked is this rezoning out of character with the area? And I think as I showed with the land use map, this is situated in an area that contains other industrial or quasi-industrial uses. Does this rezone support only marijuana cultivation? No, it's a rezoning for industrial. The demand could be there for cultivation. That's likely what would be sold today, but the industrial zone allows multiple kinds of uses. Both industrial as well as commercial. It allows restaurants, thrift stores, convenience stores, gas stations, self-storage, and other sorts of commercial kinds of uses, which is what you see developing out in this area. And maybe the final question would be, is there too much industrial land in the city? And my response to that would be to suggest that no, there isn't, that the market will determine what develops. Currently, there is more industrial demand than exceeds supply in the city. We've done a lot of projects in the commercial zone, in the industrial zone, and there's probably, I'd say 70% of the industrial land has been acquired by somebody to do a project on. Some of those will be successful and some of those won't. And so providing additional opportunities for people, may target the ones that can succeed. And I think also to take note of is that really this is the first time there's been demand for much of anything out here. So if there is demand for industrial, that may bring development to the area. One final comment is that the development cycle is pretty predictable. I mean, typically you have to have jobs come in first, and that's supported by office and industrial use. Once you have people with jobs, that then drives housing. People want to buy a home, and once they have purchased a home, then you see commercial come, because then there are sufficient rooftops for companies to want to come and locate there. So I'd suggest that we're kind of at the beginning of that cycle out in this area, and that might be appropriate to see as much industrial here that might be converted into some actual job-creating uses. So with that, I'd just like to close by just requesting that you do approve the request tonight. As staff mentioned, there are materials in the packet for you to do that with, should you choose. And we'd like to be available to answer any questions if you have them before I close.
All right, I'm going to take some testimony from others, and then at the rebuttal portion, we'll have you rebut any of that, and then take questions from the city council.
Great, thank you.
At this time, we'll take testimony from anyone supporting this project. You may come forth, state your name, and your time will begin then.
My name is Michael Tennant. Council members, city staff, and management, thank you for this opportunity. Just like to say a couple of things. A little over a year ago, I had an opportunity to acquire a piece of property in this area. I thought this area was a great area, had a terrific future. The zoning RD has made it difficult for me to sell it or do anything with it. And I think it makes sense to change this area from RD to light industry. And generally speaking, I'm very much in favor of this proposal. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to say that.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to this item? This is in support.
Yes, sir.
Ed Mayor Hoffman, Desert Hot Springs.
Didn't mean that in any way. I was just reiterating it was in support.
Well, you never know about
Sorry.
me, Mayor Mattis. I understand why you would
I didn't mean it to
say
come
that.
across any other way,
In
but.
support, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Something needs to be done out there. That building's been sitting there for a long time. But at the same time, I hope that the planning department and the council will make sure that the building can be designed and used for something for future use other than cultivation, and that the parking requirement meets what it needs to redo it later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other, anyone else in support? I see someone else getting up. Please state your name.
My name is Jeff Brooker, and I have a property on Dillon Road. Been about 20 years now, and I'm at a point in my life where I'd like to maybe move on to something else, and we can't sell it until the zone gets changed, and would like to, support the project this evening as maybe an example of what is to come in the future. So I have to give all my support to Mr. Chang and MSA tonight to see this project approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Yes?
My name's Steve Viatic. I'm with Evolved Engineering. We're a new company that we just formed. My degree is in mechanical engineering with a background in manufacturing. I worked at Intel as a process engineer for 7 years. I support the change from RD to light industrial. So I support that. I'd like to see, like to ask council to overturn the Planning Commission's decision, which was against it. We would like to, so just to piggyback off of what Jeff said, our group intends on purchasing property from Jeff, but we can't do that unless the zoning supports what we want to do. So if this is granted, we intend on doing the same thing with the 64777 property to rezone that to light industrial. If that's done, we would improve the property, and we'd also be bringing Desert Hot Springs $81,000 a year in tax revenue. That's if our business is a success, which I believe it will be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more support?
Hello, Mayor Mattis, council, staff. My name's Susan Miller, and I'm here to support the Duke Chang project because he indeed is a pioneer for what the rest of us need to do. I like what Joe McKee said today about painting the whole neighborhood with a broad brush. And I also remember what Yvonne Park said just a little while ago about oh, can't we plan a neighborhood? Does it always have to be specific use? And there are whole neighborhoods that hang together. We're calling ourselves the Dillonites now because we feel that we would like to see industrial use. We had, since 64615 has been for sale, that's our place, since January 17th. We have had over 70 potential buyers, 70, and I can document them all. They were mostly local people, but when they went to planning, they didn't exactly have the right plan. What was the right plan? Well, that indeed is the question. RE, RD, anyway. Industrial is what most people are doing down there, and that's the use, and that's exactly probably what it's best designed for. Thanks for Duke to Duke Chang to be a pioneer, to change at least one part of our 17 lots. We're not talking that big of a neighborhood. We're only 17 lots. I have finished a survey of the Dillonites. Out of 17 owners, 16 really want this to happen, a change of zoning. And if you can't sell your property, that's no great Christmas. We've lost investors, we've lost faith, we've lost a lot of local people who really could have added to industrial sites down in Dillon. Anyway, as nearby property owners, I agree that the RD zoning is totally inappropriate and should be changed. It's devalued properties, it's made it impossible to sell, and it's brought up a lot of angst and suffering for a lot of people that actually have properties down there and can do nothing. Or they can do something and they do not, they cannot work their way around what the employees are saying needs to be done. A CUP, developmental contract, where is your business plan? A lot of people don't have business plans. They buy a place and they go from there. So anyway, that's it.
Thanks, Susan. Did you say everything you needed to say?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I've been told by the city attorney during public hearings there is no time limit. I have to allow everyone to say what they have to say during public comments. So, yeah, so I just wanted to make that clear. All right, any more support for this project? Okay, is there any opposition? At this time, we'll take testimony from any opposition for the project. I see no one standing. Final call. I will take testimony from anyone else that would like to testimony in neutral position. All right. At this time, the opportunity for the applicant to rebut all those bad comments about your project. I don't see there is any, but I might have members of the council have questions for you. Is there anybody from the council that has a question directly for the applicant?
Just a closing comment too before. So we were introduced to Mr. Chang a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, back when Martin Magana was the planning director, and we've kind of initiated this process for him some time ago. But through the course of the hearings that have occurred, we've actually had the opportunity to meet a number of the folks that came up and testified today, and sort of understood how broad this problem was and how much support there was for a change. So we've sort of offered to help them as a group or as individuals to try to see what we could do, maybe in collaboration with staff and things, to try to get their project in a similar position to this. So anyway, just to know that we've kind of been trying to work with them to bring this forward after this project is dealt with.
Thank you. Mr. McKee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of questions. What would happen if we changed this to light industrial, no cultivation?
Well, I think that would devalue the property probably, currently, with the market the way it is right now.
The reason I bring this up is I think the council as a whole has seen we sort of made a mistake in the way we handled the industrial property in the city, and that we ensured that almost all the industrial property could be only used for cultivation. And I think if we were to go back to the beginning, there would be a discussion about how much of the 800 and some acres we have that presently is light industrial would be available for marijuana versus other businesses. Because the issue I have is the support businesses that are necessary for industry to work real well, the electrical people, the plumbers, the distribution people, in this case hydroponic people and everything else, can't afford to buy the land now. And we've had circumstances where other people have been in the same circumstance. I guess the second question I have is, or a statement, let me change from there. I would rather this be done for all the parcels at one time rather than it be one parcel, if that's possible.
Mr. Betts?
Just keying off of Councilmember McKee's comment about the industrial and the cultivation, I asked the city attorney, I think the same question, and I'm not sure that, I thought I asked you. You know, we were waiting to see what my question was. Can you zone something? Everything right now, when it's zoned industrial, becomes cultivation. So if we rezone something industrial, does it automatically take on the allowable cultivation designation?
The council has a choice to actually, the answer to the question is that would be up to the city council. The reason why is because if, for example, a project like this comes before you and the city council did not want specific cultivation done on this property, the city council has that discretion to make that determination.
At the time of the development project comes through, or at the time of this zoning?
At the time of the zoning. So, however, that said, obviously, what is currently allowed under 17.180 is cultivation in industrial. But because this is coming before you as a separate project, the city council has that discretion.
And I'm for certain, everybody agrees the rural, oh, I'm sorry?
I was just letting Ms. Zavala know that this is an opportunity for him to rebut anything you guys are saying. So we will get into discussion after I close the public hearing. But as of now, he is still standing there and opportunity to rebut anything that's being said. So if you have specific questions for the applicant, this is a great opportunity before we get into council discussion.
Okay, well, I
debate.
was right now just asking questions. So, and and just for the other speakers, this doesn't change the zoning on those other parcels. There's only one applicant before us right now. Correct? Yeah.
That is correct. You're only talking the application before you. There's only 2 parcels.
Okay. And okay, and I will save the rest for comments. Thank you.
Ms. Park, are you out? Okay. Are there any more questions for the applicant from City Council? I have nobody else in the queue. Your opportunity to rebut anything you've heard or said, or anything you'd like to say.
Just one thing to keep in mind. I don't know if you remember back before you approved the cultivation ordinance, what this area was like. I remember, you know, up say at the corner of Two Bunch Palms and Little Morongo, there was just a handful of old warehouses up there. And your action to allow cannabis in that area has resulted in some very nice buildings in that area up there currently, with more to come. So it's obviously your decision to make, but I would disagree that you should limit cannabis currently. There is a demand cycle. Currently it's in demand. I suspect it won't last to the point where, you know, all the acreage has been developed. It does, you know, we see the same thing in housing cycles. We have it, and I think if you disallow it on properties that might actually build something, and there's other properties that are in that zone that maybe don't have the utilities and such to do that, you're going to maybe limit your actual construction in the long term. So it's just something to think about. So that would be my closing comments, is that the applicant would prefer not to see you limit that, because that obviously devalues his property and doesn't allow him to take advantage of a demand cycle that's there.
Paul, there's a question from Mr. Betts.
So give me what utilities are in place there right now?
Well, I can't answer that.
Is there
You
sewer?
have, no, I wasn't saying necessarily, but for example,
Well, I'm just asking, is there sewer?
I don't believe there's sewer. There's obviously a paved road. I'm not sure about water. There may be water there, but there's not a full. set of
Danny, could you answer that,
utilities
please?
I'm not sure of the utilities actually on that area. There's no project proposed, there's a zone change, but I'm not sure which utilities are in front. There is a paved access. I don't know, I'm sure they have some way of access to power. I don't know if sewer, water, or gas is during the front of Dillon.
Yeah, each area has a little different situation. I mean, here, this is a little closer down to the treatment plant that MSWD will be constructing, and there are some intervening projects, that will probably bring that up further this way. It's not ideal, but it's better than some. There are a few that are south of Dillon, more to the east of this, that are pretty much devoid of everything. So this has at least got a road there and a certain amount of utilities.
Any other direct questions? Last opportunity. Final words.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we will close the public hearing at this time, and now council will discuss and debate. I will say this: I'm not in favor of handcuffing anybody on what they want to sell their properties for. I know that's part of the discussion tonight, but I cringe to have to tell you how to develop your property as long as you meet the general requirements of that industry area. So I would not be in favor of handcuffing you and saying you can't do this or you can't do that on your property. Again, the reason that you're here is because you see an opportunity, and I see that opportunity for you. So unless someone can convince me otherwise, I don't see any reason to handcuff you at this point. Ms. Parks?
Yes, I have some comments. First of all, we are in the process of completing our general plan update. I was involved in the last general plan update, and we did hold community forums where the community had an opportunity to come in and talk about what they envision for the future of the city. Dillon Road and the frontage along Dillon would be one of the areas that would be under consideration. What do we want to see the frontage of Dillon look like? Do we want it spot things, or do we want it, in the general plan as specifically commercial, as specifically industrial? What do we want it? And that we need to take the time to complete our general plan update, which should be by at least June, July, somewhere around there. There's plenty of available industrial land for future cultivation, and we need to plan our future growth rather than spot zoning, in my personal opinion. We need time to complete the update. With that update will include infrastructure and water, sewer, and electricity. So, and just to talk about that RD, I think RD is a ridiculous zoning. But when we annex that property, when you annex the property from another agency, such as we annex it from the county of Riverside, we accept their zoning. They are the ones that zoned it RD. And we have to keep that for a few years until we do our general plan update. At that time, we change it. Dillon frontage, in my opinion, speaks to commercial. And even though the Angel has the warehouse in the back, they have the commercial thrift store in the front, where people and children, and they're all coming in all the time to purchase discounted items from thrift stores. So, and then you've got your solar, and then you've got your restaurant. So, anyway, I'll stop talking and let others come forward.
Ms. Zavala?
I would definitely agree with Councilmember Yvonne in regards to the street frontage area on Dillon. I also don't see that as a place to have cultivation. As she mentioned, there's a thrift store there where people go shopping. There's a restaurant there where people go to eat and host events. I just don't see that as a cultivation site. Now, I understand wanting to take matters into your own hands. Now, at the same time, you know, we also have to sit up here and look at what is it that we're doing. I know why you want the zone change. You know, it would be extremely beneficial and lucrative for you, for us to change the zoning in that area. And in this instance, light industrial pretty much means cultivation nowadays. So when you look at least here in Desert Hot Springs, so when you look at the raw land acre prices, I did ask the city for this information, you're looking at approximately $200,000 per acre. Now, if this were to be entitled and graded and ready for development, that would jump up to about anywhere between $400,000 to $900,000 per acre. This stands to show that you could, in essence, become a millionaire with this zoning change. So I just don't think this is the time or the place to be doing that. I get why you want this, I understand. But I just don't think this is the time. As Councilmember Evan Parks mentioned, we're undergoing a general plan update, and people need to have the ability to provide input on what type of zoning they want to see in the community. Now, I do also kind of agree here with Councilmember McKee's points in regards to, well, you know, you want the zoning change to light industrial, but then you don't want us to, you know, limit cultivation, because clearly cultivation seems to be, you know, what the use that you're looking to sell it for. But I once again, you know, this is, I maybe light industrial without the cultivation. I just don't see cultivation on Dillon Street frontage area.
Paul, I can't have you answer your questions. I've closed that, but if you have a comment, go through staff and they can bring your comment forth. The next speaker is Mr. Betts.
Ideally, the general plan would already be in place and we would have worked all this out, and I'm wondering how much longer it's going to take. I went through the same workshops and meetings with Councilwoman Parks. We never completed that process for one reason or another. We had a lot of good thoughts and a lot of good work in community forums. We need that to go. You think it can be done by June? I think it's going to take longer than that.
We gave an update that it'll be done by probably September, October, but, or actually we'll bring it back to council September. We'll have all the public meetings between now and then.
Okay.
And all the stakeholder meetings are already starting, is that right?
We're starting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you know, the Planning Commission looked at this and they kind of had that same view that this isn't what they saw for this area. What they saw was something that's servicing the other industrial uses in the area.
Correct.
On the same token, I can sure see the transformation that's come in our industrial area. If you go look at the corner of Little Morongo and what is that one that's just down from, just south of San Jacinto, and there was an old auto repair with oleanders and a mess, and it was just horrible, unsightly property, and now it's getting cleaned up. You can see tilt-up buildings going up, and the transition has been really fantastic. We have an industrial park that's gone from nothingness and dilapidated, more churches than anything else in our industrial park, to actually very useful, productive property generating a lot of income. And I think, I'm certain that if this project went through with the cultivation zoning, you'd have a cultivation business there, nice frontage, curb, street, gutters, sidewalks, landscaping, all the stuff that's going in with these projects, and it would be a big improvement to boost. I'm concerned that the light industrial could also mean that it's a solar field. And I'll tell you, if I have my choice between what shouldn't be there, a solar field is absolutely the least productive use of that land. You don't get one job, you don't get anything out of it. I think the representative from MSA rightly said that not all the industrial land is going to get consumed with projects. There will eventually be land available that will provide that type of service we need. I'm just, where I'm wrestling right now is, does a cultivation fit in this row of the properties, and is that what we want to see? And I don't know what the answer is on that one right now. I don't have an answer. I'm waiting for some direction from the council. See what the rest of the council is going to do. I really respect the Planning Commission's vision and what they're looking to have happen. They've stated it, and I think it's one of the best planning commissions we've ever had in this city, the way they're working now and what they're picking. So I'm going to be hard pressed to go against their wishes, and I think some of the comments up here are convincing me too. I'm torn on this one. I don't know.
Scott, you had something you'd like to say, and then I have some comments, and I'm going to start round two.
Yeah, just real briefly. In the past couple weeks, working with the client, trying to give them advice on how to increase their chances, and I've just been informed that they are willing to make that compromise of maybe considering, staff has recommended maybe if you came forward with a 200-foot swath on the frontage and proposed commercial or ancillary, some of these support businesses that council's looking at over the next couple months for micro businesses, et cetera, distributors, testing, do some of those in the frontage, and then restrict cultivation to the back, and then also have thoughtful consideration of the adjacent land uses, the residential by adding buffers, restricting height, et cetera, when they come back for the development permit. That was a recommendation. We've been working with them, but I've just, been advised that they would consider that now, if that's going to change any deliberations or, so I just wanted to relay that.
Thank you. And could you put the map back up on the screen? My comments are going to refer to this. I just have a difference of opinion. It's not personal with my council members. I just don't think if we're going to first of all, there was a poll done by the property owners out there, and they agree to support this type of industry out there. I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Second, I think compromise, which I think would be well taken and should be taken. Yes, that's fine there. As a portion of the frontage of the property on Dillon Road, I think my council has it right. Maybe that is a commercial zone, but I wouldn't restrict the whole property. I don't think that's fair, because if you go two properties down, you've got a solar field, which is light industrial. If you go 3 or 4 properties down, you're back into Little Morongo area there, which we've already approved multiple uses of cannabis in that area. So to be consistent, I think that, and I don't think we should worry about what the price of the land would be. I think a good business person holding on to this property for many years in hopes that an industrial industry would come along so that they could sell it at a good price for their benefit is the American way, I thought. We shouldn't be restricting those opportunities to anybody. We want them to buy land within our community and make a profit in the future for whatever industry is available. I have no problem restricting portion of the land on the front Dillon Road for commercial, but I don't think you should restrict the whole property, because it is contiguous with the light industrial area. And if they see an opportunity in the cannabis industry to build out there, it takes a piece of desert, it builds a nice building on it, and we all hope in the future that this industry continues to move forward, and these are the uses for that. If not, it stays a piece of dirt, probably does not get developed over time, and have to wait till the next decision to be made on the city council. I don't think it's spot zoning. I really don't. I think there's support for that industry out there to change that zoning, and I really wish at the time that we'd work together to change all that zoning all at once. As Mr. McKee had said, I think that would have been an opportunity. But I just don't think it's fair, and I hope it doesn't open us up as a city council in the future to say your project, you can do this on your land, but you can't do that on your land, even though it's been told for the most part you were under the impression if you changed it to light industrial, you could do what the city council has been moving forward to. So I think that would be quite unfair. If it doesn't get passed tonight and it doesn't get sold and it doesn't get built on, then there is no jobs, there is no taxes, and it just reverts back to what it is, and that's that. And that's the risk that we take as a city council at this time, is that we don't allow someone to develop this and produce the taxes, and we, again, in my eyes, seem very unfriendly when it comes to development in our city if we don't continue to compromise with some of these developers that are trying to do something on their pieces of property that will sit vacant for another 25 years if we don't allow some sort of development. It's my opinion. Mr. McKee, I think you're up next. You can take the map off unless someone else needs it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think anybody here likes the RD zoning. I don't think that that's a question for anything. I think that it does make that land less viable for selling to anybody. The problem I have is that this is something we do as a city council and as a city that has massive effects on the value of things. By doing this, we take a parcel of land that's probably worth a few $1,000s an acre and turn it into something that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars an acre.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I hate to do this, and I never do this, but I need to be convinced why that's a bad thing.
The reason
From a
I think
business
it's,
perspective.
let me explain. I'm sort of conservative about this because I think the medical marijuana market, especially for cultivation, is one that has the potential over the next 5 to 10 years of being a bloodbath. That there is so much development taking place, and if you look at things in the background of it, I know people hate the Department of Agriculture's statistics on what they believe out of Sacramento, but the Department of Agriculture makes bets on how much of everything will be grown in the state, everything from alfalfa to beets to whatever. You go through their reports. One of the things they've said is that they believe, and there are lots of people that believe that this is really low, and I don't know, that 200 acres of indoor cultivation would be enough for the entire state's demand for both medical and recreational marijuana. We've already approved 850 acres for medical marijuana. We just went to the show that had other people having massive projects that are almost as big as Coachella is, meaning somewhere in the neighborhood of over 2 million square feet just in single projects. My question is, do we have enough already zoned for cultivation? And I think for our city, maybe we do. Maybe we're in a position that people up here will believe that that's not a bad thing, that we'll have a bunch of buildings that are in 10 years are empty. But that's sort of the other thing we're looking at, I think, here, is the fact that we don't know over the next few years what's going to happen with that market. Let's say the Department of Agriculture is really wrong and it's 10 times that, or it's 100 times that. My view is, if you look at all the cultivation that's going on, if you look at the fact that the Department of Agriculture is actually trying to get people to be able to grow at least the more retail-based marijuana outside in a lot of agricultural land. For instance, the county of Imperial already is discussing allowing manual marijuana cultivation outside in agricultural land. So my point is, I think we're in a position that we already have a lot of land that's set up for that. And we can continue to say, okay, we're going to ride this wave and be in a position that we're going to take a chance on everything being way off as far as estimates are concerned, and way off as far as what's going to go on with both indoor and outdoor cultivation, because I understand outdoor cultivation is a different product than indoor cultivation as far as what you're trying to do. I understand a lot of this is estimate right now, but just what we saw in Colorado and Oregon with the reduction in price after everything opened up, there are massive amounts of money that are being put into this, and hopefully everybody's capitalized that's going to be in our city. But on one hand, we have the potential of reaping unbelievable benefits from this industry. I have no doubt about that. On the other hand, and what I tell people about this from my perspective, we have also the possibility of becoming Atlantic City as far as what happened with Atlantic City and gambling. If you remember 20 years ago, everyone was saying Atlantic City was going to be saved by gambling, and people built billion-dollar structures there. And what happened? Internet gambling came up. The various Indian tribes built casinos closer to the population centers and everything else. So I'm just, in some ways, and I hate to use this term because it'll sort of tilt you to the side, I'm sort of being conservative in this instance. Democrat that I am.
Way too much lately.
Democrat that I am. And I want people to succeed. I want to develop land in this city. But we also have to look at the ramifications, I think, as far as, do we already have enough? Are we zoned properly? That's basically where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Mr. Betts?
Can we put that map back up? All right, so if there was a way that the city attorney told us that we could do something here where the first, and staff's gonna have to help me, how much is normally reserved for a normal retail frontage? I don't know how many, is it 200 feet, 300 feet, 500 feet?
That's actually a good question. I was just thinking about that.
How about the first parcel?
The first parcel that, they're split 9.7 acres. I think when I calculated 200 feet, and I'm not sure that's enough to do a commercial frontage, that's like an acre and a half. That whole front would be almost, it would be almost 5 acres.
No, yeah, so you're talking, that's almost split in half, right? It's 2 parcels?
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at here is, if you restrict this to commercial like we're talking about, the back parcel of that thing, nothing's gonna happen to it. It's just gonna sit there as weeds.
So you've got the parcels, yeah, they're split in half.
How many feet is that? I can't see.
Paul, do you know?
On the depth, how many?
On the depth?
Yeah, it says on the side there, but he can't read, and I can't read it.
Yeah, correct.
You have your bifocals on, Russ?
Oh, it looks like, hold on, 1,258 or something like that?
12, they're saying about 1,200.
So the question is, what is it, 300 feet deep, 200 feet deep for a retail establishment?
I think 200 might be a little shy of being able to do, with the parking, the landscaping, the setbacks. You might maybe double that 400 feet.
Okay,
That might
so-
give you enough for parking,
So if I-
buildings, setbacks.
If I could go back to the other slide, that'd be great. And practically speaking, if you put in some type of retail or support service there, it's gonna occupy the front, and the rest of that land's just gonna be sitting there, maybe someday as a solar field, the only practical use for it. And if the city attorney says that we have that solution to dedicate this for the corridor that the planning commission is looking for and other people indicating, and then let the rest of the industry go on in the back, it's almost gonna look like, somebody's developed the back parcel and the rest is a pad waiting for the future retail development. If we could do that somehow tonight, I'd be in favor of that. And that would satisfy, that would get me to, I agree with the mayor on, that this is just gonna sit there and do nothing for a long time. Otherwise, if we don't take advantage of this opportunity now.
For the general
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if I may, the question originally, I think that Councilmember Betts posed was, and Councilmember McKee as well, was can we just zone this industrial and then exclude the cultivation? And to that extent, the answer is yes. The new question is, can you do, the first maybe 200-300 feet of commercial and then the rest industrial? That gets a little bit more tricky unless there's some kind of land use designation for mixed use, because I don't think that you can have one parcel with 2 separate zoning designations within one parcel. So if there is in fact some kind of mixed use designation, and I just don't know that answer.
So when we were, if we're going to the general plan and discussing that, we could designate this as mixed use as our general plan shows now. So we could go with a mixed use designation on this, if we aren't limited to just, that was my question, are we limited to only industrial, light industrial, or can we go to, could we go from rural desert to commercial right now, tonight? Or has this only been noticed that the only option is rural, desert to light industrial or nothing?
No, the council has the option and the discretion. What I heard, though, is actually having 2 zones for a single property.
Well, you come up with a mixed
if we have, are you talking about one zone for one property and the other zone for the other property?
Well,
Okay,
and in the option of doing that, we could do a lot line adjustment.
okay. In that case, then the
To match
answer
the
is
zone.
yes. Should you want to do the first property? I'm sorry, I thought I only heard the first 200 feet of a property. So the first property is commercial, and the second property, so long as they're separate as industrial, the city council has the discretion to do that.
So maybe somebody someday in the future has a building with a bunch of workers, and then they're looking for a place to eat, and out in the front is a Subway, a restaurant, something like, normally you see in an industrial park, like down there in Cook, where they have mixed in there different retail establishments. Then you're getting full use of this land. It's not just sitting with commercial taking up just the very front of it and the rest of it nothing. And I'm gonna have to excuse myself for a momentary break.
So there's a continued discussion. Scott, you have some comments behind you if you want to take that for a second when other comments are made.
Okay, let me check.
So some of the discussion tonight is how do you, is there a possibility to change the 2 zoning, to have the 2 parcels change zoning, 1 commercial, 1 light industrial? So the answer is yes. I think one of the comments that Scott made that I was interested in is, could they come for a lot line adjustment in the future and have the council, when they go through the general plan amendments, possibly zone that property differently in the future? So I don't know if the applicant heard that or not. That could be a possibility in the future. So I would support something like that. I'd like to see some sort of development on it. I still disagree a little bit with the individual trying to, if they want to make money on the property, that's their business, not ours. And if they want to change the zoning so it betters them in the future because it's part of the industry, I think that's an opportunity, and I don't think we should judge on that. I think the judge here should be particularly on what they're asking us to do. And I agree with the council. I don't have a problem with commercial on the frontage part of it, but I want to make sure the rest of the property is usable in the future. So you had some comments?
Just a quick discussion with the client. They did request not that it would make it unviable if we did the whole front parcel. So we just, I made a suggestion, maybe splitting that first parcel, which is approximately 5 acres, dedicating the first 2.5 acres, which I believe would put you around 350 feet in depth. And they would be willing to change their request for a designation for that front 2.5 acres to RD to CG, and then the remaining 7.5 acres approximately in the rear from RD to LI.
Well, we were just told right now that could not be done. So what would have to happen, according to the city attorney, was the comments I was making, was that the first parcel would have to be commercial if the council decides that, second parcel light industrial, and then in the future with the general plan update, you'd have to do a lot line adjustment for when that's all completely planned out there.
That would be the number one condition of this approval would be they'd have to do a lot line adjustment to match that zoning.
In the
boundary.
future during the general plan.
general plan update.
Updates.
Or as a condition.
Yeah, as a
Of
condition.
this specific.
No, they could come back in the general, but what Scott's saying is there's already 3 people backed up for next year's calendar year, and we can only do 4 amendments per year, but the general plan is going to probably happen faster than those amendments. So the opportunity would be for them to petition the city council for a lot line adjustment at that time during the general plan update.
I think they could do a lot line adjustment at any time, can't they?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I believe they can do a lot line adjustment as part of a condition of an approval.
Okay. I was trying to act like I was smart. I wasn't.
I'm pretty sure they can.
No, thank you.
I'm looking to legal.
So anyways, that's the proposal. I know there's more comments coming up. Mr. Betts, you're still in the queue. Did you have anything else you want to say, Ms. Zavala?
I wanted to clarify something. So I don't have an issue with people making money off of their property. What I have an issue with is the fact that we're going to be opening the floodgates, because everybody's going to want us to start changing their zoning to light industrial so they can triple to quadruple the value of their property, because everybody wants to make money off of their investment. That's what I have an issue with. Now, there's a general plan update that's coming when this type of issue should be getting resolved. Okay, and then, okay, it's, to me, it just feels a little off to be voting on something when there's a general update coming up where you could get the zoning changed. And not to mention that our planning commission had an issue with this. So that to me is an issue, is, you know, where do we draw the line? We change the zoning for you, the next person in line, what do we do? Say no? Like, to me, it's just a matter of, if we do it for you, we're gonna have to do it for everybody else. And you know, to me, it's like, so do the developers not want to invest in the property that's already zoned light industrial because they can get a better deal somewhere else by buying the land that's not currently zoned that way and that you own? So, you know, to me, it's just kind of skirting around purchasing the land that's already zoned for light industrial. And once again, yeah, I'd rather see something there than not see anything at all. But there's a general plan update that's coming up. So, you know, it's difficult, you know, because once again, if we do it for you, we're gonna do it for everybody else. So at that point, it's like, well, we might as well just zone everything light industrial and be done with it.
Ms. Parks?
Yes. There was some mention of a lot of supporters here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of the supporters that are here are owners of raw land that they have been sitting on, or possibly, I don't know what they have on it, but I don't see anyone here from any of the existing businesses. Is anyone here from any of the existing businesses, such as the restaurant, such as Angel View? And what do you own, sir? What do you have there? A contractor's what?
Yard.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Parks
Okay.
knows she's not supposed to ask questions, but I allowed it because it was important.
Okay, anyway, as far as the commercial in front and the cultivation in the rear, I don't care how much we control the cultivation, there is an odor that emits from the cultivation. And I just can't imagine someone sitting at a restaurant eating and having that odor emitting from the cultivation. So I could not support that. I could support a change of RD to commercial, but I could not support to light industrial.
All right, one more comment from me, and again, this is a lively debate. It's a good debate. It's different opinions from each and every council member. I wouldn't support spot zoning for light industrial if someone went to Palm and Pearson, bought a piece of land and said they wanted to change it to light industrial. But Andrew's laughing because he knows he wants me to do that for him. But I do support this because it is contiguous, and I think it belongs in the light industrial area. I also agree with the council on the commercial corridor there, so there's opportunity there. Again, I just think it's an opportunity. This isn't someone who just bought land to make money off of someone that's owned land for 12 years and is looking to make a profit basically on an industry that is changing our city. So, Mr. Betts.
I want to attempt a motion to see if it flies. Is that okay, Mr. Mayor?
I have nobody else in the queue, so yes.
Okay. I don't know. I don't call it A or B. I'm calling it C. That contingent on a lot line adjustment to provide commercial space sufficient as determined by the staff, and then rezoning the rest as light industrial from rural desert. And did that work for you, Mr. Tashner?
That is a recommendation that the client is requesting.
I mean, but is that doable from your standpoint?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be my motion.
I'll wait for it to get up on the screen. Motion is second. It's open for discussion. Mr. Betts, are you back in?
No, I'm not.
Ms. Parks?
I still want to bring up the issue of the odor of the cultivation versus the commercial.
The problem with that is that you're already assuming that he's going to sell it and cultivate on it. Just because it's open for cultivation doesn't mean it'll be cultivation business. It could be extracting, it could be manufacturing, it could be contingency businesses, it could be a whole bunch of things.
And our ordinance says no odor.
And our ordinance does say no odor, it has to be. I know you, I laugh with you on that because we do have areas that we have to go out and.
I'm telling you,
and-
if you go, okay.
Yeah,
Got
we,
the staff to get busy and
I'm in agreement with you. There's many work that we have to do. But I just want you to be clear that you're pinpointing the person who owns the land on future development that might not even happen there.
I think that we should wait.
I get that
And
point.
this,
Yep.
this general plan update should take care of the entire commercial zone and Dillon Road and what we're gonna do with it.
Fair enough. Ms. Zavala?
And I just want to echo Councilmember Parks' sentiments in regards to waiting to the general plan amendment, getting that public input on it, and that's just how I feel about that one.
Fair enough. All right, Mr. McKee, I don't see you in the queue. Mr. Betts not back in the queue. With that said, we'll go to a vote at this point.
Be a second.
Okay, take your time. Yeah, it happens. Mr. City Clerk?
Motion passes with Mayor Pro Tem Zavala and Councilmember Parks opposed.
All right, with that said, that's the end of item number 9. It is 8 o'clock. We usually take about a 5-minute break, so let's make it 7.
Greta, why can't she get a building permit?
I don't know what she's talking about.
That's what's confusing me, is that I understand what you're saying, and she's saying, I can't get my building permit because of Mission Springs Water District, but does that sound right to you?
Usually get
What
a
would they have to
clearance.
do with the building?
Well, we get a clearance from them, like, hey, can we get it cleared? But I mean, if they had everything cleared, we should get right no issue.
quick whack. Why isn't it open yet?
They're having some resubmitted plans. Their budget. No, we fix it. We make them fix it on paper.
Okay.
So yeah, their engineer hasn't resubmitted.
Does that mean they're not gonna resubmit, they're just gonna leave?
No, from what I understand, it's been going back and forth. I think it's like the second or third plan check.
Do we get to do stuff on this?
Fire access. They had fire access issues, that's all, but now they got it cleared up, and that was it. So I don't know if
Yeah, I spoke to our staff this morning, and that was one of them, like, where are we at on this? You know, like, what's going on, too?
Yeah, not formally. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's all it does.
Something else I can survive.
So everybody can find their seats. We're going to get started again. All right, we're now on our administrative calendar. This is item number 10. This is a certification of the November 7th, 2017 special municipal measure election results. Mr. Suriano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Pursuant to California Elections Code and Resolution numbers 2017-056 and 2017-057, which were adopted earlier this year, the Riverside County Registrar of Voters has completed the canvass of returns of the special election held on November 7, 2017 in the city of Desert Hot Springs, and has provided a certification to the results and canvass of election returns.
All right, is there
The resolution, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
Resolution before you, as required by the Elections Code, certifies the election results and additionally indicates that the ordinance pertaining to measures B and C are deemed passed and adopted by the voters of the city of Desert Hot Springs. The ordinances shall go into effect 10 days following council's action tonight, which is to adopt a resolution of the City Council reciting the fact of the special municipal measure election held in the city of Desert Hot Springs on November 7, 2017, and declaring the results thereof and other such matters as provided by law. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you. Any public comments on this item? I see none. I will move on from public comments to council member comments. Mr. Betts.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the city manager, does he want us to vote yes or no on this one? Mr. McKee, is it okay if I make a motion?
Sure, I just have a question. You go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution of the city council reciting the fact of the special municipal measure election held in the city of Desert Hot Springs on November 7th, 2017, and declaring the results thereof and other such matters as provided by law. With a thank you to the voters of Desert Hot Springs.
And push your button there. Is there a second? There's a second. Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one question. Again, I thank the citizens of Desert Hot Springs with this. I know that on the parcel tax, we have the ability every year before we submit documentation to the county to manipulate the parcel tax. The question I have is, do we have the same ability on the utility users tax up to the maximum that's set there? Well, I'd like to find out if that's true. Yeah, on almost all taxes, it's a situation where we can charge anything from zero up to what the tax was passed.
Is he talking about the CPI? Yeah, I don't believe there's a CPI on the UUT, but I have it right here, so if you would bear with me, I could double check the ordinance.
You can get that back to me.
Okay,
you don't have to worry about it tonight.
Okay.
All right, nobody else in the queue, please vote.
Oops.
What I'm looking at is incentive, the ability to incentive things with that.
Ms. Zavala was off the dais according to the electronics, but I saw her here the whole time.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry, I clicked the button too soon. You just do a voice vote.
Oh, yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 11, it will be serving as a successor agency now. Resolution approving purchase and sale agreement and joint escrow instructions with Ashad Mohammed Abed for real property located at 66036 Pearson Boulevard, APNs 639-232-062-027-028. Community Services Director Joseph Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. This site, known as Site 9 on Pearson Boulevard, which is actually just down the street from here, sits catty corner to the 7-Eleven. The owner of the 7-Eleven put in a bid for this property. The bid for the property is purchase price is fair and reasonable, and also as part of the wind down, the dissolution of the redevelopment agency, the city is required to dispose of assets, and this is one of these assets, and we are recommending approval. Once approved by council, this will go to the oversight board for approval, and then to the Department of Finance in Sacramento for their approval, and then we'll begin the escrow process and hopefully have a quick escrow as the buyer completes his due diligence.
Is there any public comments on this item? I see no one standing at this time. I'll open up to public, council member comments. Ms. Parks?
No comments. I'd like to make a motion.
I have nobody else in the queue. Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution of successor agency. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution of the successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the City of Desert Hot Springs approving purchase and sale agreement and joint escrow. Instructions between the successor agency to the redevelopment agencies of the City of Desert Hot Springs and Arshad Mohammed Abed with respect to the real property located at 66036 Pearson Boulevard, Desert Hot Springs, APNs 239-232-026, 027, and 028, and approving certain related actions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 12 is the year-end budget adjustments for fiscal year ending June 30 to 2017. Mr. Tanner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to do a little tag team here, so I'm going to do the presentation. So what we wanted to do was put these year-end adjustments in a little bit of context for the council. I know it's been a while since we've had a budget update, so we felt it was important just to give an overview of what's been going on the last year. So just quick schedule and overview and then consideration of the item. So our budget schedule as it stands right now, so tonight we're doing the year-end adjustments for 16-17, and then January and February we're going to be presenting the audit, or the auditors will be here to present to the City Council, and then we'll have some mid-year adjustments for this current fiscal year, and then we will also be presenting a long-range financial forecast. The last forecast, if you recall, was a 3-year forecast, and it was based on our cash flow. We were in a much different financial position back then, so we just wanted to determine if we had enough money to pay our bills over the next 3 years. This one is much more, is much longer in its forecast. We're doing 7 years for this one, and we're going to take into account a number of different factors that are really important to the city. That are going to have some pretty big impacts for like CalPERS and health insurance and things like that. And then in April and May, we'll start with the public meetings for our next 2-year budget. So some of the financial highlights for last fiscal year, we did end the year with a surplus of $2.29 million for the consolidated general fund. That's revenues over expenditures. A large part of that was due to the permit revenue. We had 1.14 million increase from the previous year, totaling 5.19 million. We had one-time revenues of just over $1 million. Those included stock liquidation, some donations, admin fees, successor agency admin reimbursement. So because of the successor agency having some serious cash flow issues over the last couple of years, when we sold the properties, we were able to reimburse the general fund for some of those costs, so a lot of those staffing costs especially. And then also we had some large insurance claims. This room flooded twice. We also had a large insurance claim for the Health and Wellness Center, which contributed to the one-time revenues. We also restructured the city and successor agency debt, which we were able to finance a city hall with, and then also it's going to have a pretty big impact next year on our property taxes with the successor agency debt being restructured. So the less money is actually going to be paid towards debt service, and more is going to be paid to all the tax agencies, including the city. We were able to finance City Hall and Animal Care Center, which are currently under construction. And then our total marijuana revenue for dispensaries and cultivation totaled just under $700,000. Excuse me, roughly about 60% of that was just from dispensaries, and then we also had another $60,000 in penalties and late fees, and the rest was from cultivators. Breakdown of the revenues for the year. $9 million in taxes. That includes property tax, sales tax, special marijuana taxes, etc. Permits and fees total $5.2 million. Reimbursements over $100,000. Licenses $200,000, which is a good sign because those are business licenses, so up from 187 to 204. And then interest and investments $71,000. Miscellaneous another $250,000, and then also transfers in of $4.46 million, totaling $21 million. Expenses, our biggest expense, salaries and benefits, $6.2 million in total. Operations and maintenance, $1.7. Contract services, $6 million. Capital expenditures, $430,000, and then transfers out of $4.2 million. And I just have to say, with the transfers in and out are a little bit inflated because, as you know, we have 3 separate funds that make up the consolidated general fund. And so our general fund, which is 001, supports our public safety fund 245. So we just basically are taking money out of one pocket and putting it in the other. It's not really an increase or a decrease in expenses, but on the total expenses, it kind of has a inflating effect. So overall, we were still within 95% of budget, so we're still under budget overall. As far as what that has done to our balance sheet, which is definitely much healthier, assets as of June 30th, 2017 were $11.6 million. About 75% of that, or $8 million and change, was cash and investments, mostly short-term investments. Liabilities of $3.2 million, that increase. A lot of that has to do with developer deposits, which on our balance sheet is a liability for us, because if we have to pay those back one day, it would be an expense. So our fund balance went from 6.1 to 8.4, which is the 2.2 million surplus that we've had for the year. And Glenn will take over for the rest of for the consideration of the item portion.
Okay, as the normal course of business for budget adjustments, there's just 2 categories that the City Council needs to approve. One of them is if we move money from one fund to another, and also if we increase the overall expenditures in any fund. And so those are the two categories that the next slide will show all the adjustments that were done for 16-17 that need to be approved by council. So if you, next slide. So the adjustments were broken down into 4 categories. 2 of them are the transfers in and out between funds. Those aren't, really true expenditures for the fund that the money's coming out of, because the expenditures are in the fund that the money's going into. So if that's why they're not broken, not listed as a true expenditure for like the general fund or the other fund. They're just separate categories. The consolidated general fund only had like $260,000 in adjustments that needed to be increased for the expenditures. The majority of it was the adjustments were for the other funds, and a lot of that included depreciation, capital asset depreciation, devaluation of successor agency properties that were sold, and a lot of that isn't really a cash, it doesn't affect cash, but it does affect the expenses on the books. So the bottom line is, for the general fund, there was no impact for the additional expenditures. The additional revenues that we received covered the appropriations for the year, so there was no negative effect to the consolidated general fund. We're just recommending that the City Council approve these amendments, and if there's any questions on any of the categories, we'll be glad to answer those.
All right, thank you very much. We get the screen back up. All right, does anybody have any comments? At this time, I'll take public comments. Would anybody like to speak to this item? I see none. All right, we'll close public comments. City Council? We have nobody in the queue. If that's the case, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
I have nobody else in the queue for discussion. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, item number 13 is a resolution amending the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget to include the 2017 pavement management plan project to be funded by Senate Bill 1, SB 1. Community Development Director Daniel Porras.
Can I interrupt for 1 second and ask that the slides that were used in that presentation be emailed to us if we could, Mr. Danner?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Porras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is regarding Senate Bill 1, or SB 1. On April 28th, 2017, the governor signed Senate Bill 1, which is known as the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. What this SB 1 does, it increases taxes on fuel, which will then be used to address road maintenance, rehab, and safety needs on both state highway bridges and local streets. A percentage of those funds will be eligible for cities and counties for basic road maintenance, rehab, and other safety projects. Cities and counties that want the funds or are receiving the funds must comply with relevant federal and state laws, and some new procedures that were established through the SB 1 process. Some of the requirements are that cities must prepare a list of projects and submit them to the California Transportation Commission, which will then review and approve them. The list of projects must include the description and location, and the cities are required to submit an annual report of all expenditures. The latest State Department of Finance projections showed the fiscal year 17-18 for the city of Desert Hot Springs as receiving $164,124. This is because the SB 1 funds are only for this fiscal year, were only collected for a portion of the year. The next fiscal year, which would be 2018-2019, the State Department of Finance projects the city will receive $492,343, which is much higher. Staff reviewed all eligible projects, reviewed the criteria for SB 1 program, and staff is recommending that we amend the budget of 17-18 to include the 2017 pavement management plan project into the CAP program as funded through SB 1 funds. This project will include grind and overlay and crack seal and slurry seal along various roadways citywide. We have those roadways will be selected based on a pavement management plan as having a PCI rating between 65 and 75, which we currently do have a big list of them. The 2017 pavement management plan project is estimated to cost $300,000, of which we will use $164,124 from SB 1. The remaining $135,876 will be funded through Measure A. Staff recommends that City Council adopt a resolution amending the budget for fiscal year 2017-2018 to incorporate the 2017 pavement management plan project to be funded by SB 1 with an estimated amount of $164,124. That concludes my staff report. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Do we have anybody who would like to make public comments on this item? I see nobody. Ms. Zavala, you're in the queue.
I have one question in regards to how the state allocates funds to each city. Is it based on population or is it based on actual gas purchase in the city?
It's a formula, population, lane miles. It's all together, all mixed together. But yeah, it's not by how many tax generated, no.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Mr. McKee.
I was just going to applaud our developmental department manager that he knows 492,000 is more than 164,000. Thank you, Danny. I would like to make a motion that we adopt a resolution of the City Council amending the budget for fiscal year 2017-18 to incorporate the 2017 pavement management plan project to be funded by Senate Bill 1 road maintenance rehabilitation account funds with an estimated amount of $164,124.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. I don't see anybody else in the queue unless Mr. McKee, you're back in.
Nope.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, item number 14 is grant funding for qualifying clean air projects. Mr. Rainey?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This item is regarding a grant opportunity that is available from the Mobile Source Air Pollution Review Committee, which I will refer to as the MSRC. They have recently established a local government partnership program that offers grants to assist in clean air projects. And the program provides additional funds for cities that are participating in the Assembly Bill 2766 Subvention Fund Program, which the city is already using to fund clean air projects. The grant is non-competitive and they reserve funding based on population, and for the city of Desert Hot Springs, the amount that will be eligible to apply for is $50,000. There are a few requirements that we need to do in order to apply for the grant, and one of them is to inform the City Council, which we're doing right now, and that includes a short presentation that I will do in a few minutes. And the second is to adopt a resolution that authorizes the staff to match the funds for the grant using our funds from our AB 2766 Subvention Fund. So some of the eligible programs include a bicycle active transportation project classification. And last month, the City Council approved a bicycle pedestrian safety program, and staff is proposing to apply for the grant with this project. One of the objectives of the MSRC is to educate both elected officials and the general public, and so we're going to go over a short presentation. It's about 6 slides here that talks a little bit more about what the program is trying to accomplish. So the MSRC was established by the California legislature in 1990 as part of AB 2766, and its sole mission is to reduce air pollution generated by vehicles, and they're funded by a fee that's attached to motor vehicle registrations. So although the air is cleaner now than a few decades ago, we are still experiencing air quality challenges. And according to SCAQMD, the region is in an extreme non-attainment status for ozone, which is a precursor for smog. And one of the main components of smog formation is nitrous oxides, which we refer to here as NOx. And at this point, NOx emissions need to be reduced by 45% by the year 2023 in order to meet federal ozone standards. So how do we reduce these emissions? Well, one way to do it is to implement the measures from the AQMD Air Quality Management Plan from 2016. And one of the strategies of their program is to provide incentive-based programs, and that's exactly what this grant is. It's an incentive for the city to participate in clean air activities. It's a voluntary participation, and I think I said before, $50,000 has been reserved for the city. So the requirements and conditions are mostly centered around date ranges. The project needs to be completed in 5 years, and the proposed project that we're going to apply with has about a 2-year outlook for completion. And other than that, there's standard financial reporting and audit requirements, and funds are distributed on a reimbursement basis. So at this point, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution acknowledging receipt of the Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Review Committee's Local Government Partnership Program presentation, and to authorize the city manager to submit a qualifying project application. This concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any public comments? I see none. We'll move on to council comments. Mr. McKee?
Move staff recommendation.
Mr. Betts? I'm sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Betts?
Okay, so the Transportation Committee at SCAG, they're talking about the AQMD targets, and they're much higher than SCAG feels that, you know, they're much higher than SCAG feels that they can achieve. And it's a significant discussion that's taking place now involving many, many millions of dollars. And even with many, many millions of dollars at stake, SCAG is still taking some time to work through this. It keeps coming up meeting after meeting. So I'm not sure what we're agreeing to. We're getting 50,000, is that what I understand? And then I see some reporting requirements and time of staff, and you know, maybe it was 250,000. But I'm wondering if this is just a wash. And then you said the requirement is 45% reduction, or a target.
Those are the targets that they're setting. It's their goal, but it's not like we're going to have to pay back the grant money if we don't. They're not going to come test
What
our
I'm worried
air.
about is that we've tied our hands and have to comply with those targets by accepting the grant money. Kind of like, you know, I won't use that analogy. I'll think of a better one later. So I think as a council, we're going to decide which way we're going to go on this. Are we all in on this, you know, all the way zero emission vehicles? Go at this in a big way and try and get one of those projects down here where we've got the riderless electric, you know, driverless electric vehicles as bus service in the city, and hit this in a big way and go for stuff like this? Or I'm not certain what strings are attached to this, and maybe my fellow council members can help me out on this one.
Ms. Samal.
So, from my understanding, this is money that we're gonna get for sidewalk projects, correct?
It's for
The
the bicycle pedestrian safety program. That would be the project that we would use to apply for the grant because it is eligible.
Yeah, and then once we apply, if we don't meet the 40% reduction rate, we're not gonna be obligated to pay back the grant.
No, and those those are more the goals that they're trying to do.
That
Why
in
did-
essence
it's not-
is their mission of what they
Yes.
want to accomplish, and that's how they're saying we're gonna give out this money to meet this goal, but it doesn't mean that, like, you know, they're gonna sue us if we don't meet their 40% goal.
No, I
This
didn't.
is just their mission and their reason for giving out the funding.
Correct.
This is an incentive for cities to try to start in the direction of the target goals. They realize $50,000 is not enough money for us to achieve that 45% reduction.
Mr. McKee?
I'm a little bit confused because I think what this is going to be used for actually is the Palm Drive signal synchronization so that cars aren't sitting and idling too.
But that was already paid for through.
That's an eligible expense, that's correct.
Yeah, well, it is, but there was an $82,000 amount of money that we were going to pay with the general fund, and this is going to be used to offset that.
That's correct.
Okay, just so I'm not crazy.
Well, you're crazy.
And the
You're a
bikes.
Council member.
That's correct.
Okay.
They're included there.
All right, with that said, any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion at this time.
It's already there. We just have to vote.
You already have one, and it's seconded. Thank you. Any more discussion? I see none. Please vote. It is after.
I don't know how that happened.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 15 is amendment cooperative agreement for 8th Street Storm Drain Project between the city and Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. Mr. Porras?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is regarding the 8th Street Storm Drain Project. The 8th Street Storm Drain Project is a underground storm drain system that would be constructed along 8th Street between Mesquite and West Drive. The total project is estimated to cost about just under $3.4 million. In November of 2012, the Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District and the city entered into a co-op agreement in which the district would pay the city 120% of the project, so essentially it would pay 100% of the project and 20% admin costs, I'm sorry. Since then, the city completed 50% of the design, which were the PSNE, and we completed some of the potholing. We have been back and forth with the county and trying to figure out a way to expedite this project and get it done. We discussed different strategies, and staff and district staff came to agreement that if the district were to take complete control, at least as the lead agency, the project would be able to move a little bit faster. It would eliminate an extra step in paying bills, because right now what it is we pay the the consultant, then the county reimburses us, we review the plans, then the county reviews the plans, then it goes back to the consultant, then it goes back to the city. So what this does, it allows the county to have, not full control, but have more control over their design and their construction. Essentially, the district would be the lead agency responsible for the completion of design and construction. The district will still pay 100% of the project. The district will pay all the contractors and consultants directly. They will also complete all the environmental documents and all the permits required through their staff. The city will still review and approve all the final design, and we will still inspect the project and take ownership of the project. So in an effort, we also discussed that part of the project will entail some street improvements to make sure that the transitions are accurately designed and constructed. The city will also, part of those street improvements were not included in the storm drain project. Therefore, the city has agreed that we would pay up to $125,000 of any street improvements required for the proper transition. What this means is that there's some catch basins and some inlets that are actually going to be out of the curb line that currently exists. So we want to make sure those transitions go properly with the existing improvements, which are not funded through this fund. Therefore, we are agreeing to pay up to $125,000 after the contract is completed and after the construction begins. With that, staff recommending that the City Council approve this co-op agreement between the Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District and the city to amend the cooperative agreement as shown in Exhibit 1. I'll gladly answer any questions.
Maybe public comments. I see none. I have two questions. First, that are related to this. We worked with the county supervisor's office on putting gates up at the at those
at the end of the culvert, yes.
And are those done?
I'm not sure if it was done, but I can follow up on that.
They're done. Okay. I wanted to thank the county supervisor, Manuel Perez, and his staff, especially Greg Rodriguez, for doing that. This has been a pet peeve of mine for years. People travel through there, transients live in there, they cause fires. Being on a Little League field there, these fires cause respiratory issues. Our public safety is not safe to go in there. This causes a blockade, so they cannot go into there. But also with the storm drain being reconfigured, all the water is going to run into there, which is a safety issue also. So I wanted to thank the supervisor staff for helping us guide us through this with Riverside County Flood Control. Also, at the corner, this has been a big question by a lot of people, at the corner of West and 8th Street, that intersection is very steep when you come through it. Now with the water being rerouted in a much better fashion, can we look in the future of reconfiguring that intersection to make it more
Yes, we can, yeah.
easily traveled, if that's a word or if that's a sentence? I don't know anymore, it's past 8 o'clock. So those are my two concerns. I appreciate taking those notes. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, packet page 282 is showing a yellow section from Mesquite, and you said 2 West Drive, but that doesn't show going 2 West Drive. Am I understanding that's the project area?
Yeah, it's not all the way to West Drive. It actually goes underground, the box curver. It will connect to the underground box curver
Okay,
that currently exists on 8th Street.
So they're gonna dig, trench,
Yes.
lay in, storm drain, come back over and repave, right?
Yes.
And so we're gonna have paving equipment here already, putting
Yes.
down paving, and it isn't real hard to just go a little bit further and take care of that horrible intersection and that horrible stretch of road and finish that off. And while we got all that stuff, we got the economy of scale, the workers already here, it's not a whole lot more, by my estimation in relation to this project, to carry that all the way, not to West Drive, but through and beyond West Drive with new paving.
That's correct.
And we're already kicking in 125. What could we get if we kicked in a little bit more, and do we have it somewhere in one of the street diffs or somewhere else that we can take advantage of all this and maybe put in some curbs or sidewalks or something that's not there now? Let's bump this up a notch. We're saving money when we do this work while other work is going on. And I really want to see this. I don't want to see that yellow line stop there. It really bothers me. And I think this is fantastic. I think the idea to have the county be the lead agency is wonderful. But staff, before time runs out on this one, I don't want to say, oh, well, geez, we ran out, we didn't have time to do this. I want to get this done Now, so I won't repeat myself anymore. I've said my piece. I would like to hear a response from the city manager. Are we gonna look at this?
Yes.
Will it be done?
That's the answers he likes.
Is it something that have to come back to the council? Something have
No,
to come back to the council?
what we'll do is we'll extend this project, just if you would make it part of the motion, we'll extend it to where would you like to see it extended to?
Beyond, you know, the normal.
I see beyond West Drive, but
Beyond
how
West-
far?
Whatever is engineers consider normal when they do something, when they rebuild an intersection, I
You
think
just wanted to go through that intersection, correct?
it goes past there, and I think the engineers already know that when you rebuild an intersection, there's a certain section on each side of every stop sign that gets redone. That's probably a standard they have,
Not-
to the normal intersection standard.
Not to put not to put words in Mr. Bett's mouth, but he might also, it doesn't hurt to consider the rest of that roadway as because it's been a waterway for so long, it's probably dilapidated. So I don't think it would hurt.
No,
to
and the road, yeah, the road all the way through and beyond West,
Well, I
like you were
was,
talking about, the same intersection.
8th Street goes all the way to the wash.
It goes to Verbena.
And half of it's county. The north half is actually county of 8th Street, so we'd have to coordinate with them.
Is it? Okay, so maybe just the intersection
We can still coordinate with them, we can figure out some solution we can both.
Okay, through to the other side. I just wanted, we got some economies of scale we can take advantage of here, and I'd like to start doing that instead of ending up with half
Choya.
streets everywhere.
Not Verbena, Choya.
No, well,
I'm
Troy
going
is on the
west.
west side. I'm going east.
Oh, I was going west. I think Mr. Betts is going west too.
I'm going west right now.
Well, I'm going east too.
Okay, so.
But
we're
I'll
gonna
talk
look at
about
going
that.
east.
Well, actually, that
we may
road's
end up
already
with
been-
another $500,000 project here, which,
I was going to talk about that. We've been waiting to do for sure between Mesquite and Palm for this project because we didn't do it during the original paving. And that is awful in there, but I'm not sure from Mesquite over to the east that it's not pretty bad too, because I'm not sure that we didn't do that too.
I think that goes to Verbena.
Yes. Did we pave from Mesquite to Verbena, I guess is a question.
There's a segment, I don't know if it goes, I don't remember if it goes all the way through, but there was a segment that was.
But I applaud what Mr. Betts said. I think that we should try and put curbs, gutters, sidewalks, everything in at the same time if we at all can, because this is a good time to do it. This whole thing, I don't know if people realize, but there are a whole bunch of people on 8th Street that have been paying flood insurance for a long time that hopefully are going to get out of that in the next few weeks. This is something we really need to do. Is there a timeline on it? When are we going to do this?
We expect to have, hopefully, this in construction sometime next year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Parks?
I think.
You're in the queue, do you remember?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, this project has been on the books for so long.
and Rigalont days.
And I like everything that everybody has said, so let's incorporate it into a motion and let's get it voted on.
Mr. Betts?
I'll make a motion to, what am I doing, accepting,
That's why I
what's it
pushed
say,
it off.
what am I doing, Daniel?
Adopting a resolution.
Adopting a resolution.
No, I'm sorry.
This is
I'm
just
sorry.
a.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
There's a co-op agreement that's.
Authorize the city
today's-
manager to execute
The co-op agreement.
the amended cooperative agreement for the
Yes.
8th Street Storm Drain Project between the city and Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District with making sure that, with an added provision that the city, at its expense, if necessary, continue the project beyond West Drive and looking to the easterly side of 8th Street, terminus of the project, and seeing if additional paving is needed there. And as long as it isn't too much, no need to bring it back to the council. What's too much?
The threshold's what, 175, Danny?
Yes.
Yeah, 175,000. So if it's above that, I'll have to bring it back to council.
Okay, so that'd be 175 in addition to the 125 extra we're throwing in.
That's correct.
And I bet you're gonna be over that.
Second.
Then you may see it again.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Ms. Parks, Mr. Betts, you're in the queue. Are you out?
I'm out.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, hang on to your hats. We're gonna move here. Item number 16, resolution of intent to against one parcel, annexation number 25, located east of Little Morongo Road, south of San Gregorio Lane, and north of Palmer Lane, APN 665-040-017, to the City of Desert Hot Springs Community Facilities District number 2010-1 Services, Desert Grow LLC. Mr. Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution by the City Council declaring its intention to put the item on for a public hearing for this particular property. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any public comments? Do you have any questions directed towards staff?
Move staff recommendation.
Is there a second? No other discussion, please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Item number 17, resolution of intent to annex one parcel, annexation number 26, located east of Little Morongo Road, north of Dillon Road, APN 665-110-004, the City of Desert Hot Springs Community Facilities District number 2010-1 Services, Oxford Properties. Mr. Tanner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Same item, different property.
Move staff recommendation.
Is there any public comments? Seeing none, it's been moved. Is there a second? Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Item number 18 is a resolution of intent to create a special tax area, Zone 30, for property, APN 665-040-017, located north of Palmetto Road and east of Little Morongo Road, to the Desert Hot Springs Special Public Safety Tax Area, Desert Grow LLC. Mr. Tanner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is again, a resolution of intention to place this item on a public hearing.
Any public comments? Accept the motion.
Move staff recommendation.
Been moved by Mr. McKee, seconded by Ms. Parks. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Number 19 is a resolution of intent to create a special tax area, number 31, for property, APN 665-110-004, located north of Dillon Road and east of Little Morongo Road, to the Desert Hot Springs Special Public Safety Tax Area, Oxford Properties. Mr. Tanner?
Yeah, again, it's the same item, different property.
Any public comments? I see none.
Move staff recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Item number 20 is a resolution of intent to annex one parcel, annexation number 22, located at the southwest corner of Cabot Road and San Jacinto Lane, APN 665-030-037, to the City of Desert Hot Springs Community Facilities District number 2010-1 Services, Tim, and the last name is Guderia.
Guderian.
Guderian. Mr. Tanner?
Any questions from council?
I see Mr. Betts.
Yeah, just for the benefit of anybody who may be watching this in the future and wondering, the audio or the video in the future, wondering why I'm voting no, I think all these need to be folded into one rather than multiple, and that we're creating a problem ourselves with so many separate independent districts.
Do I have,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Do I have any public comments? I see none. And
Move staff recommendation.
I have a motion and a second. No other comments. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
And last item on the agenda tonight is item number 21, resolution of intent to create a special tax area zone for property, APN 665-030-037, located in the southwest corner of Cabot Road and San Jacinto Lane, to the Desert Hot Springs Special Public Safety Tax Area, and Tim Guderian, Guderian, thank you. Mr. Tanner?
Same property, only public safety.
Any public comments?
Move staff recommendation.
Motion and a second's been made. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Consent calendar was approved in whole. Anybody want to see any items in the future of the agenda, please talk with the city manager. Any more public comments tonight? Gary, you may speak. He's not tired yet, Lance.
My name is Gary Stewart. On the behalf of myself and my husband Lance, we just want to say what a good job that each and every one of you guys are doing for Desert Hot Springs.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Merry Christmas.
We appreciate that. All right, with that said, do I have any public comments tonight? I see none. Our our meeting will be adjourned until after the first year. Again, have a safe holiday season. Happy New Year, and we will see you on January 19th in the new year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.